Hey, welcome to the First Layers unofficial last stream for the year. I'm Richard. You know that guy. His name is Brian. Well,
hey, Richard. Hey, it sounds like you're being gated a little aggressively, actually.
Your head, Brian, because my wife's head is in the way. There we go.
Okay. Yeah, Richard, you're being gated a little bit here.
All right.
So
I can't hear you, Brian.
Listen, wait. You can't hear what you're saying, Brian. Only I can hear you.
Okay, Jerry, let Richard know he's being gated.
You're being gated.
Happy Sunday, day after Boxing Day. Welcome back, guys, and hopefully you had a very happy holidays. Hopefully you have a bit more time off work. Otherwise, if this is the last day of the year, you get to piddle around and have fun. We hope to have some fun today. Richard is going to be unboxing a new printer. I haven't even seen it yet myself. So I think maybe in the intro, if you guys are looking behind the countdown, you could see
Close
it.
that window.
There we go, Richard. That sounds
How's that?
better.
Is that better?
Excellent. I was just telling everybody about.
All right.
Hopefully.
So I can't hear Brian, so my wife is on the board today. She's going to be working everything. So everybody say hello to Jerry.
Hello.
Hi, Jerry.
I can't hear you, so she's also going to be talking through the chat today with Brian, and they're going to be answering your questions as best they can. I am going to build this 3D printer from our good friends over at Mingda. They sent this over. This is not a sponsored video, but they did send this over. This is the Rock 3. This is the upgrade to the D3 that Mingda has put out, and now they're coming out with a Rock 3 Pro. So we're going to dive into this in just a few minutes, but first, Brian, I want to talk a little bit about tools, right? We want to talk about tools.
Do we?
He goes, do we?
Yes, we do. So some of the things that you're going to want to have on hand, regardless, you do get stuff with your printer, okay? So one of the first tools you should have is a good pair of pliers or a good pair of needle nose pliers. These come in very handy when you're putting together 3D printers. Some printers don't require them, but other printers do. Yes?
Are we not saying hello to everybody in the chat first?
We
Brian?
can say hello to everybody in the chat. We'll
All
let
right.
Brian do that while I get ready.
I got the list here. All right. Hello
Okay.
to 3D Medic Vince and DJ Minema, Around the Yard Fun, BCK000, myself, BT Fisher, Corey Mack, DB3D Dan, Guy the Jedi. I see Dan Adams just popped in the list as it updated there. Joseph Jolly, Key Ludwig, Minecraft Channel RT, and Snapshot FPV. Again, happy Saturday to everybody. Thank you for joining us. Jerry, I believe we might want to switch over to the full camera with Richard because while he was talking about that printer, we didn't even see a box, did we?
Oh, no.
Let me know when he's done.
That's number 5.
This is number 5.
We are just getting Jerry into the midst of the video,
Okay,
so there we go.
Let's talk about tools. First and foremost, a good pair of pliers or a good pair of needle nose or one of each. Okay, these are essential. You usually don't get these with your 3D printers, so most of us should have them in our toolbox somewhere. Secondly, we're going to want a good pair of tweezers. A lot of printers don't come with tweezers, and we'll show you why you want to have a pair of tweezers in just a little while. Most printers come with Allen keys. Now, the Allen keys that they come with usually aren't very good. So I like to have my own set of Allen keys. These are A2 or 2A steel, so they don't round off. Your bolt is going to round off before these round off. So a good set of hex wrenches is a good idea. Now I've got a nozzle wrench here, which is just a little socket. And I also have a regular wrench here, which also helps with nozzles. This is a 10 and 8. So this will help with nozzles. You're going to probably get a set of these. If you've got more than one printer, you probably have more than one sets of these.
Then why are they always lost?
Why are they always lost? I don't know. I don't know.
Never find mine.
Now, this is a tube cutter. I've got one of these. You don't necessarily need one of these, But I like having it if I have to shave off the end of a tube because it's not cut straight when we're inserting it. Now, the beauty of this printer, this is not a Bowden setup. This is a direct drive. I have opened it, but I haven't taken anything out yet. And I always like to have one of these. This is a heat gun. So this is going to be able to tell me if my bed and my nozzle are getting to temperature. These are fairly inexpensive. You can find them on Amazon from 20 to 50 bucks for a decent one, Brian.
Yeah, they're about 20 bucks. They're super cheap. Now, they're not very accurate. Bear that in mind. Am I still coming through, Jerry? Just wanted to make sure it's all working. Good, excellent. So yeah, you just have to make sure to understand that a thermal imaging device. These
now the
ones,
I haven't done an unboxing on our channel for a long time. I don't know if I'm cutting over Brian or not.
No, I've got just the box up there now.
Okay, so this. Let's go to the front shot.
The little desk. Oh.
Nope, the front shot, the main shot. Number 5. There we go. So this is a fairly thick piece of foam on top. Very well done. Really nicely packaged. I'm going to try and keep this stuff as close to me as possible. So inside this box, we get, of course, some instructions, some after-sale service, warranty stuff that's in the box. We have this big thing that says, "Do not remove before finished assembly." So we won't remove that before the finished assembly, even though we already did. Now this has a magnetic bed, so we're gonna deal with that in a minute. So the first thing that we find when we open this one is they have this little pencil case. It looks like a pencil case. We can go to this close-up screen right here, and you can see that we've got a little pencil case here. You got to switch the cameras. Cut. There you go.
I do it
so we've got a
backwards all
little
the time.
pencil case here, and this has all of our tools and cords and USB and different things that we need for this build. So that's all inside of this little baggie. And this is a nice little canvas bag. So, you know, if you're looking at getting a Mingda, this might be the way to go. All right. So let's see how we're going to take this all apart. We have the spool holder. Let's see. It looks like we have to take out the Zed Gantry. So here's our Zed Gantry. We're just going to set that down on the floor, and we'll have a look at that in a moment. Now this is where the fun begins. There's our power cord. They did send us a North American power cord, which is wonderful. We're going to take out this layer of foam.
Oh, you're giving me shivers
Get rid
now.
of that.
That sound is yucky, eh?
Oh,
It is.
thumbs up in the chat if your
now,
arm hairs all
This
out.
is all of our assembly here, so I'm going to just stand up real quick and pull this out of the box.
All right, Jerry, maybe while Richard's pulling that out, we can switch over to my cam. I'm going to give you guys a little teaser.
And then we can get rid of that
coming up
box.
soon here.
Okay, just a second, Brian.
All right.
I've got to figure out which.
This is what happens when we try to teach Jerry in 5 minutes how to do this. It takes
There
some
you go.
time here.
See?
So we have been playing with a new product, and you can't see it behind me here, but let's see, which way? There we go. You might see that white printer over there. It's printing a little something, and what it's printing right now is a lovely, terrifying scan of yours truly. So this is something we're going to be talking about a little bit in the next few days here. So I don't want to say anything yet because Richard's doing the primary review, but I thought I'd give it a try last night on my own. It's actually pretty cool. It's a pretty cool 3D scan. So we'll be talking about that more shortly, and hopefully I'll be able to get you guys a photo of the model, and we'll see if it's actually to scale. And because I didn't do any scaling on that, so we'll see if my head is really bigger than I thought.
So right here, what we have is our hot end assembly. And this is a direct drive. We can see that it looks like an E3D clone. It looks like everything's nice and tight. So we're not going to have to worry about that too much. And we don't have to really adjust any wheels with this because it just screws right onto the back plane. And I'll show you that in a few minutes. Now, this section is for your X gantry, and we'll show you where that goes in a few minutes. But what I really like about this is that it is dual rail. Or it's got 2 rails, a nice tight belt, and there is no shimmy in this bed whatsoever.
Wow,
okay?
I'm impressed.
That is very important. If you have a bed that has shimmy in it, what you're going to want to do before you build out the rest of the printer is you're going to want to get in underneath here, and I'm going to bring in this camera a little bit closer.
Hi, Jerry. She's taking me front and
And
center.
you
There
can
we go.
see in there that we've got those little nuts that you see there on the roller wheels. Those are your eccentric nuts, and you will have to adjust those to tighten your bed properly. Okay? Now, we do have to check to make sure that this is set up for North American power consumption. So we're going to look underneath. And the one thing that Mingda has done is they provide this really big cutout right here so you can get into the power supply and have a look at it. But because we are who we are going to set this down. We're going to look inside there. We're going to just turn the whole thing over. And we will have a look inside there. And you will need a flashlight to get in there to have a look. Now, is there a flashlight on the desk there? The silver one?
While they're looking for that,
If I
I
can
just
use some
spotted this thing
flashlight.
has a full-size SD card slot, which is really,
So
really
first things
nice.
first-
So
Wait. Okay, go.
I was just going to say there,
By
yeah, that
looking in
full-size
there,
SD
I can
card
tell
slot
we
is
are
awesome.
on the proper voltage for North America. So it's already been done for us. These guys, I'm not sure what power supply. You guys want to see what power supply? Just put yes in the comments, in the chat there.
Yeah.
If you want to see, if you want me to open up the bottom of this before I build it out, just put yes in.
I think that's a no-brainer, Jerry. I think everybody wants to see a teardown here, Jerry.
Better?
Okay, I've got the headphones on now.
Okay, and can we,
Put them on the other side of you there, Jerry.
on this side?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, she gave me the headphones, so I'm tethered.
Okay.
Well, then
I'm
at
not
least you can
talking
hear
over
what
you.
Brian's saying.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
was just
Can
saying,
we
Richard, when
answer
we're looking
questions
at the
while
power
we're building?
supply,
Yep.
yep, we'll keep our eyes open for the
Minecraft
build there. I
Channel
was
has a question. He says, I have an Ender 3 Pro, and I'm wondering how to fix the firmware problem with the silent motherboard. I cannot figure out why the homing keeps failing.
Brian, do you want to take this, and I'll get a screwdriver.
Sure, yeah. So the silent board, now homing fail, I will need that extra information about what is failing in the homing. Does it fail when does it try and crash into the x-axis? Does it crash into the y? Does it hit the bed, or does it bounce back up? Let us know exactly in the chat what direction where it's failing, because I
You
believe
just have
with the
to tell me
silent
when
board,
he's done.
I'm going to presume you're a stock setup, and therefore you don't have a BL touch. So it sounds to me like an end stop is either, well, regardless, is incorrectly returning back results. So either it's not returning a switch, or it's always returning a switch. Let us know in the chat, and we can dig further. The firmware that we linked above, the TH3D firmware, is a good version of the firmware to start out with. And then you can move on to Vanilla Marlin with their Ender 3 defaults and see if it's a firmware issue or if it's something worse.
All right, so I'm working on getting these screws out so that we can all have a look inside. Now, I will tell you from my experience with Mingda, they have 32-bit boards with Trinamic drivers on them. They're the 2208 steppers. So these machines are actually really, really quiet. And this one is, I think, 310 by 310 by 400. So it's roughly, you know, it's a little bit bigger than a CR10, not much.
It's about the same size there, yeah. It's,
Yeah.
but you know what I like about these is look at the rigidity of the base. Now, a lot of us, our printers are based off 2020 extrusion on the base, which has a little bit of wobble to it. These solid steel ones, you're not going to have any wobble on it, especially with the dual rails and those eccentric nuts tightened in correctly. A lot of the rigidity is based off the base being the center of gravity.
Okay, so let's get a good look. What's that?
Wouldn't be doing this show, Jerry, if we didn't tear it open. Let's be honest. Everybody wants to tear it open.
So I'm going to bring you guys in quite close here. So I'm just going to grab this little one. And we can see that we've got a custom manufactured board with a lot of the stupid glue. I hate stupid glue. Let's, there we go. So this is the MD. So this is actually a Mingda board. Mingda actually has these boards manufactured for themselves. So this is actually a Mingda board. It has a full-size full-size SD card and a regular USB port, which is really, really nice. Now you can see that there are some things that aren't hooked up here, and that is for later expansion. Now this is not a high-quality power supply. I really wish that they would go to something. Let me go to the power supply here. You can see that we don't have a really high-quality power supply. It's this typical power supplies you find anywhere. And
they
this
used
one,
hot glue on the power supply?
Did they?
Oh,
I haven't even seen that.
Yeah.
Oh, they did too.
Take a look at that.
Yep.
Even on the AC. Oh boy. Oh.
That could be a problem.
Okay, that's not great because that stuff will liquefy if that power supply gets warm.
Yeah.
Dominic Versetto saying they used ferrules. That is a great thing, though. That they
Yes.
used ferrules, and the crimps look good.
The crimps look amazing. They do
Go
a
back to that
lot of
power
work
supply.
on their quality, and I will say that for how they build these, and you can see the welds, like you can see welds here where they've welded things together, and it really is a solid base. But it is not
Also-
a Meanwell power supply, which I really wish they would have went to, but you know, it is what it is.
Also, going back to that, just from electrical theory, if you guys see, there is a green and yellow wire. The ground for the AC electrical is actually attached to a lug nut inside the case, bored through. And the reason that's important is when you powder coat a piece of steel, that can sometimes insulate it, and therefore your case is not actually grounded. So
Right.
that is a proper ground. The only thing I wanted to check there, Richard, is what is the wattage on that power supply? I think it's on the far side of the
Yeah, it's a 350, I believe. Let me just turn it around here so I can see it. I couldn't see it upside down. This is actually a 24 volt 480.
That is excellent. So that means we're going to have a very cool power supply because we're not going to be running that near 480 watts. So
Right.
good on Mingda. Creality could take one out of their books and up the power supply for that.
So it's already been set for our region for power, so I don't have to change that. And you don't have to take this lid off. As you can see, there's a nice big cutout right here that you can get in with a pair of tweezers and actually change the power supply. Now this they sent this to me from their Canadian Amazon store. And to be perfectly honest with you, I thought that was great because usually when you get stuff off the Canadian Amazon store, it is already set up for your region, for North America, because we use 110 here.
Yes, and for those newbies joining us here who maybe got a new printer at Christmas, make sure to check that, check the setting. And if you know for sure that you use 120 volts locally in your country, set it to 120. If you know you use 230, set it to 230. And if you're unsure, please check your specs because setting that incorrectly, in best cases, might just pop the power supply. In worst cases, may overheat it. So
Yeah.
you don't want to burn out your power supply day one. I've seen a lot of 3D printers, truth be told, I bought Amazon returns where people have returned them because they didn't power on or work, and I looked inside and it's because they didn't change from 230 to 120. Now, from my experience, plugging the power supply into a 230 while it's set to 120 is far worse than plugging a 230 set one into 120, but they're both bad. So if you ever have a printer you get and it powers up or it doesn't power up whatsoever, you should have checked it first, but if you didn't, unplug it right away and check that switch.
Now you'll notice when I'm putting these screws back in, I'm not tightening them all down all the way just yet. And the reason for that is because I want to be able to align this bottom properly so that it sits correctly on the bottom of the machine. And I still have access to these holes. You can see that there's these holes here that are on the bottom. I don't know how well you guys can see. There you go. You can see that we've got these holes on the bottom. And that's where we're going to be putting in our long M4 screws or M5 screws to attach the X and Y together.
Now, Richard, do we discuss the specs of this machine? If what kind of trinamics they put on that board? Because when we did the teardown there, I noticed I didn't see any fans pushing cold air across those steppers.
No, they're 2208s.
Okay.
There is no fan on it, but I think the reason that they've done that is because of all of the air movement that is still in this case from the intakes. You can see there's a lot of grill work on the bottom. And
yeah, hopefully natural airflow will be fine for that.
Yeah. That's the one thing I like about their machines is that they have a ton of airflow. And now I'm just going to go around and tighten all of these up.
And those are all hex heads, correct?
No, the ones on the bottom are actually Phillips.
That is very unusual.
Yeah. So
this is the key again. Did they include a Phillips screwdriver in the package?
No,
or did they
didn't. Well, they don't want you taking off the bottom, so they don't normally include one of those. Very few companies will include one, but if you do, most of us today in our toolbox have a Phillips head screwdriver. So,
absolutely.
And for the average buyer, you're not going to be opening up the bottom of your machine anyway. Chances
Richard,
are you're not going to open it up.
Freeze on the main camera there for you.
Oh, we're frozen on this one? Yeah, okay. Let me see why.
Around the yard fun, I know, don't worry, for 13 minutes, all you missed was us pop off the bottom there and take a look.
Yeah, just take
Greg, you're right. At
Go
least
to the wide shot. There we go.
At least they didn't use Torx. Now, admittedly, I have. I'm going to tell you guys the number one thing you can buy for yourself, honestly, and this is not any kind of brand endorsement, is a proper iFixit kit. They're getting cheaper and cheaper, and it will give you every bit you will ever need for any type of repair. They even have Nintendo bits these days. They have all sorts of things. Yeah, the camera's flickering a little bit.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. We put together the setup recently just to get everything set up there.
Let me just go here.
But looking at that Mingda, the one nice thing I did like, looking at the front of it, this is the first time I've seen this machine, is they put a full-size USB-B connector on there, which is great. A lot of the Creality ones that use the USB mini type, it's a weak connector. Now, I would have preferred to have that USB routed to a different location, but on the front makes it easy access. So, yeah. It wouldn't be a live show if we didn't have technical issues. That's how you can tell it's live, right?
Well, we're using a cell phone to bring in an NDI camera source, so that could be why we're having issues.
Richard, are we allowed to talk much about this scanner? I kind of showed the
not today. We're not.
Scanner stuff. Nope. I showed a scan of the face, so that's the preview of what's coming up, but they don't know what it is. So.
Okay.
So we're not going to get that close-up shot anymore, unfortunately. So let's.
That's okay. Maybe we can.
Well, you got the most
slap a webcam
important
later.
part in close-up.
I'm not close enough for a webcam.
Okay.
So we'll figure something out. Anyway.
That's okay. You don't have to be close up for this build, right?
No, you don't. It's actually a really simple build. So now they have gone with a direct drive extruder, and this is looks like a Bondtech clone, and a clone of an E3V6 hot end. So just so that you're aware that if you are going to go this route, that this is something to keep in mind, that if you want to change this later on, you will be able to change the hot end and go with an E3 V6. So that's just something to keep in mind. All right.
This looks like it's also the, is that the diverted direct drive one? Or
Yes.
is the motor mounted direct on there?
The motor mounted direct on there.
Oh, okay. I couldn't tell from the cable if that was electrical cables or if that was the drive cable that
Nope.
we've seen on some printers recently.
And they have a little LED light right in the back there.
Nice.
So, what do I like about these printers? And I'm sure we're going to get a few questions about it. The one thing that I like is that they're very easy for new people to be able to put together. That is I got a hangnail. Welcome to live video.
Right? We've been playing with things here just to get it all set up, and that's half the fun of being live.
Now, on the back here, let me see if I can swing it around a little bit. On the back, we've got a strain relief for this plug. Now, this plug, just so you're aware, plugs in. It is a multi-port plug supplying power to the bed as well as a thermistor. And the beautiful thing
nice.
about it is it's got strain relief underneath the bed. So what happens is that when this plugs in, is that it doesn't constantly move like some of the older brands did. And that's a beautiful feature on this particular setup. Now, getting it back in could be a problem. I'm behind it. Did they make it to come out? Or go back in?
I'd certainly hope so.
You have to hold your
Let's
tongue
put
the
it this
other
way.
way.
It is 100% not going to fall out while you're printing. That's for sure.
No, that is for sure. I've just got one little, I guess when I took it out, I bent one. So,
Uh-oh.
yeah.
Yeah, don't take it out unless you have to.
Yeah, that's right.
We're all human. That's
Lesson learned.
That's why
Lesson
we do it.
learned.
Don't take those out.
Now I just got to get them all lined up again.
Now, obviously, there's no control knob, so this is going to be a touchscreen system, correct?
Yes, it is a touchscreen. It is a 3.5-inch touchscreen. And I've liked their touchscreen interfaces right from day one. I think they work really, really well. And for that reason, I also like their end stops. Their end stops, and I'm going to try and get a close-up of an end stop here for you in a little while. But their end stops are not micro switches. They're actually momentary push buttons, which to me is a better system. And the reason I say that it's a better system is because there's a spring in there that you can feel every time it pushes it down. And they're not going to break as easy as some of the end stops that we've seen on other brands. So let's talk a little bit about the Zed Gantry. Now, we can see on this gantry that we have dual Zeds. Everything is already pre-aligned for you. They also, this is kind of cool, is this little doodad right up here. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but this little doodad right up here, that is your filament out detection. Now, you're going to want to check that your screws are tight, and I have a problem here with a couple that aren't tight. So before I go ahead and add anything to the y-axis, I'm going to actually tighten these up.
Now, Richard, from my experience, because I've always had a terrible time, maybe you could get Jerry to hand a 3-4-5 block and just show that the frame is square before we get it all tuckered up.
Those steel blocks that you see there on the corner of the monitor, honey, can I have all 4 of those? They're pretty heavy, so watch it.
Oh my God, I don't know if I can carry that. They're pretty
Now, we've
heavy.
talked
My
about these
goodness.
before. Anytime you're doing mechanical work, because I'm an electrical guy, I don't do much mechanical.
Pretty heavy would have been like 60 pounds.
These are invaluable because they are squared and they are steel and they're not going to deform, and they are a great thing for both bed leveling and for making sure corners are square.
Oh, I can't do the split screen because that one.
I use these all the time, and I'm going to show you how I use them on this build today. Now, the other thing I want to show you and talk to you about is if you don't have these, like I stacked two of them, one on top of the other. If you don't have them and you've got a printer, print yourself off some 6-inch square columns. That's all you have to do. And it'll be the same as using these. These run about $20 a set, depending on where you buy them. You can pay a lot more for them as well. But the $20 set that I've got here, I've got 2 sets, so that's $40 worth of work. So first and
if
foremost,
you're gonna print your own, I'll just say this because everybody's bed is different. I always recommend print the same G code 3 or 4 times at the center of the bed, and that way they're all going to be the same size. If you print them all on your bed and your bed's a little misleveled and you have features like
Cam D in the
fade
chat
heights,
wants to buy a printer from you.
what was that, Jerry?
Cam D in the chat. He wants to buy a printer from you.
Wants to buy a printer from me. Well, I don't sell printers.
He says it was mentioned in another video that you're running out of room and he's looking for a first printer.
Well, maybe we might do a contest here in the new year. I'm going to just zoom this one in a little bit.
The only problem, Cam D, is he's a hoarder. He doesn't like to give them away.
I'm not a hoarder.
No,
well,
not at all.
If you've seen the printers behind me, I've exceeded my 1500 VA UPS here, so I've got 6 printers upstairs,
He says he's
3
actually
on the main floor
ordered
and
a
resin.
Soval SV01, but it will not ship for a while.
Ah.
Those are good little machines, actually.
They
The
are.
Sovals, I've heard.
Okay, so we've got. You can see that these wiggle a little bit. Jerry, if you can go to the side camera there. See, I've got it zoomed in.
Which one?
Now, for those of you looking
number
for
4.
these blocks, they're actually I'm finding them under 1, 2, 3 blocks. They're about $30
There you
Canadian
go.
on Amazon. For I think they're each. Oh, the 2 packs are $34.95.
a little bit on this, so it's a little bit brighter.
Yeah, welcome to the joy of everyone making a black 3D printer. What would be really nice one of these days is someone to come out with like a retro gray style. Build something fully in gray. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, me too. There we go.
Oh,
All
that's
right.
nice. Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Now you guys can see what's going on here.
There you go. It'll be a little bright, but that'll work.
Yeah, it'll be a little bright, but it'll work. So you can see that this, probably because of shipping, these are a little bit loose. So what I want to do is I want to tighten them up. So I'm going to take my Allen keys, which we talked about a little bit earlier. I'm going to find the right one, and this looks like it's going to be a 2.5 millimeter Allen key. And we're just going to tighten that up.
Yeah, Joe A., you are absolutely correct. Printing 1, 2, 3 blocks will probably not be square. That's why I say if you're going to, if you want to make 2 blocks that are identical size, maybe not so much square, but identical size, print the same G code twice. Don't go and spread them out across your bed because thanks to ABLs and all the bed leveling compensation systems, visually they might appear to be the same level, but they're pretty small. I'm just picking up some 1, 2, 3 blocks myself because I keep forgetting to buy them because there's a 2-pack on Amazon for $34.95, and if for those Canadians that are watching, I can probably send you a link to pick them up. My Amazon US friends, you probably have way more selection and better prices.
So the other thing that we want to talk about are these wheels. Now, if we look at the wheels that are on here, they're the typical wheels that you're going to find with any system. Now this X Gantry assembly is actually really nice and snug. We don't have to worry about that. But these ones here on the side, I can rotate this one. You can see, if I turn this, actually, you'll be able to see me rotating it. I can rotate that wheel. So what that tells me, and I can rotate the inside one as well. This one is really, really loose. And the top one is loose as well. So what that tells me is that this gantry right now, all 4 or all 3 wheels are not evenly touching. This is what we call unloaded. So this is not loaded. They do have a little bit of a lubricant on here because I can feel it on my hands. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our wrench And we're going to put it on there, and because we know that the top wheel, and I'll just show you here, the top wheel is actually moving, we can move that top wheel, we are going to take the wrench and we're going to go down to pull that top wheel in. And all you want to do is just make it tight enough so that it just doesn't move. There we go.
We're getting ripped. We're getting ripped off. I had to pay $35 Canadian for those blocks, and the 2-pack is $16.27 on Amazon US.
Well, there you go.
I told you we get taken to the cleaners.
Okay, so that wheel is now really nice and tight, and same as the top one or the inside one. And we'll do the same thing here on this side. And we'll just get that wheel. There we go. That one's good too. The inside.
Now, something I haven't talked much about with these gantries, and I've noticed it a lot more with the single Z-axis printers, is that we actually tighten up the wheels, but sometimes the X gantry itself is not square to that frame.
That's true. That's very true.
So
now,
this is where these 1-3 blocks would be very valuable to check that squaring.
And that's what we're going to check right now. Now, there's a little indentation that this whole gantry is going to ride in. So that's going to definitely help us when we're trying to align our screws. Now we're going to find the screws that we need. Of course, everything that we need is on the little SD card, which is right here. Is on this little SD card.
How big is that card?
This is a 4 gigabyte card. They only give you a 4 gigabyte card. I don't know why.
Oh, that's more than enough. For those of you who know, if you buy a big tree board, they come with 128 meg SD cards, just meant for the bootloader.
Yep.
So anything above 2 gigs is going to be more than enough for all your G-code files, because you should get into a good habit of cleaning out your SD card and formatting it once in a while, especially when you start getting printing issues.
Your phone is over there, though.
No, I don't want my phone. I'm just going to change the shot here.
So that it pulls the other camera in.
Yeah, that's not that camera. Just give me a second, guys. And this is, which one is this?
Number 4. That's number 4 on your thing there.
Yeah. That's the overhead one. There we go.
Someday I'll convince Richard to go to OBS, but we do have vMix, so it's a little bit different for
All
each
right,
of us.
so we can go to that 2-shot now with Brian in the corner so people can see him.
While we're waiting,
there we go.
My question for you guys for the day is, who got a new 3D printer for Christmas, and what did you get? Let us know in the chat.
Let us know.
For me, unfortunately, I did not get a new printer. I've been working on my big machine. However, I did go out and purchase some new resins to try with my Elegumars, and for a friend, I have purchased for her an Anycubic Photon, and we are going to be playing with some very fancy, new-to-the-market resins for a very different application. So stay tuned in January for that one. I really do hope it succeeds, because it's going to be a game changer for a whole new market.
Marcetto wants to know.
Yes.
Because of the actual size of the blocks, isn't it important, as long as they are both the same size, couldn't you just print them?
Yes, and that's what I alluded to earlier, is that you can print them. If you want to print them, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure that once you've printed them, that you measure them. Because if you don't measure them, you could be running into problems, okay? So it's important that you measure them and make sure that they are the exact same height, and that the top is flat and the bottom is flat.
And here's an example. Like, let's say if me, Mr. Rich Guy, I'm going to use 2 Raspberry Pi cases for my blocks. Now, if you take a look, let's assume these were printed on a bed that was imbalanced. You can actually see there's a gap difference between the ends, right? So you have to make sure you know the tallest edge and make sure those are both the same size for your squaring point. And if you go through with that, you'll have a good time. Otherwise, you might actually cause more headaches than you'll solve. That's why I say print 1 block in the center of your bed and then print the same G-code file twice, because you know then you are printing it based off the same controls.
Okay, what I'm going to do here.
SMX235 flyer, yeah. I saw the links for Amazon Canada for the Elegoo Saturn, and it hasn't restocked. I might
Michael
be
Van
buying
Osteen got a Creality Ender 3 Pro for Christmas.
Fantastic.
Nice.
That is one of the best printers I have ever owned.
Me
honestly,
too.
it just keeps going. It doesn't die. Just
Now,
stay away from the mods. I know everyone says they work better, but Christmas tip 101. If it ain't broke,
don't fix it.
Just stick with your stock setup, and then when you start having issues, look to see if there's something you can fix without modifying the printer. They don't sell you a defunct product. They sell you something that's set to do a certain purpose.
Yes.
Daryl Watts, where do I find the STLs for the blocks? I don't even know if anyone's made an STL, but all you
I
have
actually
to do is make...
do have an STL that I made for other blocks. Just give me a second here. I'm trying to get this screw lined up. There we go.
Robert 954, I got the BL Touch 3.1 for my Ender 3 Pro. Fantastic. Great.
I have to remember that I'm on the internet and I can't say bad things.
Yes, we have to censor ourselves often. Let me
Yes.
see, Cam, if I can... I'm sorry, guys. I want to allow you to share links, but it seems YouTube blocks them. So anytime I click show, it just tells me I can't do it. So I'm just copying your links and reposting it. So this is... I'll credit you there. Cam D posted... There you go.
And of course, I dropped a screw.
Yep.
Never fails.
Dropsy
Yeah,
Jerry.
Jerry swears like a sailor. Trust me, muting her mic would not silence her on that.
That's right.
We've already had our cursing for the year, and I mean, I have a feeling there will be a good people yelling out the windows on January 1st, hoping for a better year.
Well, I'm pretty sure there will be.
So we talk about 1, 2, 3 blocks. I'm going to tell you right now, you don't need a fancy 1, 2, 3 block. Let me see if I can pull up Fusion 360, and I'll show you how to make a 1, 2, 3 block on the fly. Oh, Ben is saying can't click on the link. Okay, would you guys prefer if I just post the thing ID? Maybe that will work. Thing ID, and you can just search that on Thingiverse, and it should just work. So for those of you who didn't know what happened here in Alberta, we actually got about upwards of 24 inches of snow a couple of days ago, and it was an absolute gong show. And it's been freezing and melting ever since. So there are some crazy people out there driving around on the slippery roads the past few days. We chose not to go anywhere. Boxing Day was not worth it this year. There's only one good sale I've seen so far, and that's filaments.ca has a lot of good filament on sale for about $18 to $19 Canadian per kilogram of their EcoTough PLA, and I'm debating if I need more, but if I'm buying anything right now, it's for like 2 months in advance because I stocked up during the last purge. Jerry, can we switch over to me full screen for just a moment?
Jerry, can we switch to Brian full screen for just a moment?
Just a second.
Doing all the fancy tech.
Yeah, she's learning it all today on the fly.
Yeah.
Yep. Give a thumbs up and a clap for Jerry in the chat for being a true trooper and learning this on the fly today. And while you're down there, give us a thumbs up on the video.
That's for sure.
Yeah, Ben, you're right.
See
You
that
and
one?
Jess and I can always use more filament. I think
that
we got
was the
about
right one.
And then
36 to 48
now he's
kilos
not
right
there?
now. Nope, that's perfect. That's what I need is my desktop.
What happened to
Okay,
Brian?
so we're here. So here we are inside Fusion 360.
Oh, that's 'cause it's
and
showing us
all
stuff.
we need to do is, I'm sorry, it's a little bit cut up here, but we create a sketch, and it gives us the option
Is
of
that
all
the
these
doorbell?
different planes down here. So we click on the bottom plane, and it goes into this draw mode. There's a square option in the corner for 2-point rectangle, and we'll go here and say we want to make something that is, what's an inch about? 25. Let's go on the high end because inches are, I think it's 25.4 millimeters to the inch. So let's make a Canadian block here. How about that? So we're going to make it 30 millimeters and you can just type in the fields by 60 millimeters. You hit enter, and then you click on your finished sketch on the right-hand side, and it goes back out to the zoomed out view. Click on the square, press the E key for extrude, and you type in for distance, you type in 90. And there we have our 30 by 60 by 90 cube, which is a little bit bigger than a 1 inch by 2 inch by 3 inch block. Then, on the top toolbar, I'm sorry guys, this is cut off because I didn't reframe it. You can click on the tools, and you can click on the make. You select your cube, and I've never had it work, so I unchecked the send to 3D print utility, because apparently it can send to Cura, and then you do OK. And it gives you an option to save your STL as 1, 2, 3. Then just bring it into Cura and print it, and there is your 1, 2, 3 block. So you can always go that route if you just want a quick block, or you can even resize a calibration cube if you feel adventurous, but it'll take a little bit longer to print. So I would say just spin one up of your own there.
All right, so Brian, you're on camera right now. Jerry's indisposed at the moment.
I'm just doing a Christmas dance here. Christmas time.
So what I've done, just so you guys know, is I've just finished putting in all 4 bolts to hold the X gantry in place.
Once we get the camera back in place here, we'll show you where those screws go in.
Yeah.
Most of these new printers are literally coming in as a 4-bolt install, and so that's what we want to emphasize here is if you're interested in buying a new 3D printer, take a look at the assembly before you buy it, because some of these printers you could even assemble with your 8-year-old, with your 10-year-old, because there's only 4 screws to install, and then your adjustments.
Yeah, that's it.
And so we're going through that extra detail right up front. However, we've had some printers like Ender 3s that come in where you put in those 4 bolts and you hit play and it's good to go. So your mileage may vary. We're showing you those calibration steps early on, and we're going to see if we got it close enough for our first layer or if we're going to need to adjust it again.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just going to switch the camera back to you and I here.
Absolutely. Yeah, Ben, you know what? Admittedly, I got to give you credit. I was a little unsure about you buying all that 2.85 millimeter filament, but I guess if you can get a hold of it, why not? Now, for those of you who don't know, the standard filament size is 1.75. If you're buying a new printer today, you're only going to be buying 1.75 millimeter filament, which looks roughly. Maybe I can open up this nice roll here.
Should have got my tranquilizer.
Fill PLA. This is an old one. I think I got this about 2 years ago. Now, when you buy filament, if this is your first 3D printer this year, on the box, it's always going to provide the information about your temperatures, of what they recommend, the colors, and the
Jerry,
batch
you got to
numbers.
switch to his camera.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I think I caught it in the corner there. It looked clear enough there.
No, don't worry.
But most filament, actually, I'll grab this one over here because I've got a refill tool. 1.75 millimeter filament. It's fairly fine stuff. If you see that 2.85
is that like a refill one?
Yeah, this is a refill from filaments.ca, and honest to goodness, I think it's about 2 years old. I've had it open air, so I want to print and see how absorbent it is. So, Ben, are you saying Lulzbots are still using 2.85? I didn't know that. That's terrible. Make sure when you're buying filament, especially with Boxing Day sales, read that filament size, because usually the stuff that's on sale is the old 2.85 they're trying to clear out. Is that bed wire loom flexi or rigid, Richard? Is that cable?
It is flexible. It is somewhat flexible, but not a lot. It is adhered both inside the case and, of course, with their strap here on the back with their 3D printed part. But
is it a molded cable or is it a woven shield?
No, it's a Molex style cable.
Okay, so
it's a 6-pin Molex style cable, high current cable. So it is going to last you. Where it may run into trouble is that they don't have the wire at the entrance to the female pins secured quite enough. So that might be a little bit of a drawback, but at the same token, all of their printers are like this and I've never had a problem with them. So
yeah, I personally don't like the loom style there, just because it it always flexes in different ways, and especially when you have big printers. I've seen a lot of people get them stuck on cables with the one built in like that. It's going to be better shielded. You're going to have better thermistor readings because it's properly insulated. And it just looks cleaner. I mean, I'm looking at this machine for the first time here, and seeing a solid exterior shield versus woven makes it look more professional and polished versus the other machines that frankly look like hobbyist kits.
So we were talking about squareness. Now you can see I've got a 1-2-3 block up against the 2040 extrusion here of the Z axis and against the actual frame, and there is no movement whatsoever on that. Like this already is square, but we're going to actually go a little overboard because they allow you to do that with the parts that they've given you in this kit. So I know that this is nice and square now, which is a good thing. So what we want to do next, now that we've got this on, is we're just going to plug in our Zed motors. And because I have such big fingers, remember I talked about tweezers earlier? They help.
They do for feeding these in at these awkward points.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm used to dealing with XH2.54. I think that's what they're called.
Yes.
DuPont something or other. Yeah. I'm used to getting my fingers in there, but they can be terrible. And a pair of tweezers is great because when you're dealing with a board and you're having lots of fun there, and maybe you didn't crimp your cable properly, if you're trying to pull out your cable by the wire, you could potentially rip it right out of its own connector. So
Absolutely,
you want to make sure you get a good grip on the connector. Daryl Watts, what PLA is best used for printing AR lowers? I do not know anything about firearms or anything, but I do know that PLA is probably not your best choice of materials for any kind of functional prints. In general, we recommend PETG, or if your machine can do it, ABS. But that being said, we have no knowledge of the requirements of those, unfortunately. No. But there are groups out there that deal with it. We don't deal with it because, number one, there's a lot of legality issues in Canada, and number two, our lack of experience. So there is information out there for you, but simply put, I don't think PLA is going to be an appropriate material for anything functional like that.
There we go. So we can see here that it has a couple of corner brackets. How well you can see that, I don't know, but we can see that we've got
those are nice. Wow.
Yes, but we have two of these, but here's the other thing. They also include some T-brackets.
Excellent.
So when this is completely locked down, when this whole Zed Gantry is completely locked down, guess what? This is not going anywhere. It's not going to give you a lot of vibration. It's not going to give you a lot of shake. So, and it should never come loose on you. So we're going to start by putting in the T's. And there is a baggie of screws, of course, that come with it. Now I've put the smaller versions of their printers together, so I'm pretty familiar with what screws go where.
Greg R. saying
yes.
TPU makes life interesting, and I'm going to show you guys something really cool because this was kind of a failed project. I recently purchased a pillow from a company called Purple, and they make silicone pillows, and I thought to myself, I wonder if I could recreate that with TPU. So here I was trying to create a flexi bed, and unfortunately it clogged just before I made it to the top there. But this TPU, it's it can crinkle up and bounce back, and yeah, it's really flexible. It's really cool. Now this was TPU, I think 90 shore hardness. I have some 95 here somewhere that basically feels like a wet noodle, and I have a heck of a time printing. EDC Forme, how you liking the king bed from them? I loved the look of that thing, but I bought the pillow because I was having lots of neck issues, and that darn pillow solved all my issues. No endorsements here or anything, but it is a great pillow. It's just they use silicone, and this was TPU plastic. Now I tried laying on this just for fun, and first of all, you press that for a while, and you're going to have a grid mark on my face. It's not very comfy. But you know, if I did less infill on this, there might be a plausibility to actually printing your own pillow somewhat. So I'm going to try that once I get the last tune-in things done on my big machine downstairs. But even with, this is a 0.4 millimeter, and it is sharp. So I would not recommend printing your pillow at this stage, but if I do successfully do it, I will let you guys know. But TPU, it is fun stuff. It is definitely hard to print. Even with my dual gear extruder, the reason it failed, I wish I'd taken a photo of it, but I came back here in the morning to find it was sprawled right across the room because I didn't have a smart filament runout sensor placed on my machine. I only had the Triangle Lab version there, and so it kept on moving, but it was downstream of that. Alec Moore is asking, what's the best free download, free software for beginners for building their own shapes?
Tinkercad.
Jess swears by Tinkercad. I've never used it. I skipped because I had some CAD background and went to Fusion, but Tinkercad is the best way to get started with 3D design for sizable objects. If you want to get into modeling, the company that makes ZBrush kind of got rid of Sculptress recently and replaced it with Zcore. Was it Zcore Mini Lite or Zcore Lite Mini? I can't remember which way it goes. And that one is great. Or sorry, ZBrush Core Mini. I thought I had it on this computer, but it is a free modeling for creatives, and I always put it akin to modeling clay. And if you guys are interested in me giving a crackdown of that software, I gotta get back into it because I use Sculptress there, but I'd be more than happy to make a video for you guys on how to get started with 3D sculpting and then show you a comparison of that versus the tools you can use in Blender, which has a lot more horsepower. And the best part is they're both 100% free.
Now, you might be wondering what I'm doing here is I'm putting on a hammer nut on the back side of this one bracket. And these brackets are not plastic. They are actual metal plastic. They're metal brackets.
Maybe, Richard, can we get that close up on the camera? Because I know a lot of people don't know how far you should put your hammer nut onto the bolt before
Let me see how
you
close I
insert
can
it.
get you.
Awesome.
Well, that's as close as we're going to get on this camera.
That's okay if you can walk up to it and just show it.
Where did I put it? Right there. So what I do is I just sort of rotate it on there. Let me see where we are here.
Okay, there.
I gotta.
Put your hand up behind it.
I can't, honey, because it's not auto focus.
Oh, there we go.
So here you can see that we've got just that nut on there, and it's not very much, just enough.
Okay.
There we go.
Actually, Joe, instead of typing out my answer there, I'll just simply tell you. The Smart Filament Sensor from Big Tree Tech will work with any motherboard that can support any kind of filament runout sensor. In Marlin, you have to change some settings to tell it that it's a filament runout sensor and that it's looking for a pulse change rather than what they call a state change. And if you look at my video on it, we do go into detail about how to configure those specific settings for the Smart Filament Runout Sensor. But for your point, follow any video that installs a regular runout sensor on that specific board, and then hop on over to my video and look into the software config about setting up the runout distance.
Now getting this one in is a little bit tricky. You gotta kind of thread it in by hand because I got big hands. There we go. And then we'll tighten that one down. And
The Lightspeed saying that the Big Tree Tech sensor is working on the rail core with Duet 2 running RepRap firmware 3.0. It's the best sensor I've ever tried. I'm glad to hear that. I'm finding the exact same thing. The only downside with that sensor is you can't use it with flexibles because the pressure of the wheels inside is tight enough that you will never be able to feed that filament through it, in my experience. However, if you're not dealing with flexibles, oh, it rocks. I believe, I think I showed it the other week there, but if we go look at this Mando that just sliced to take 10 days, you're going to see there it is sandwiched right in there, and it's working great. And it's just buffing away, taking its time, you know.
Oh,
it turned out quite nice.
Showing that?
Oh, no, it's okay, Jerry. I can show the close-up through my little window here. And you can see, welcome to my challenge of getting a support right. And it actually ended up working out, so I am not complaining. It is quite a gorgeous print. We're going to sand to get it buffed up. Jess is currently working on a Bo-Katan cosplay, and so we will be busy with that in the coming weeks. Snapshot FPV, have yourself a happy new year, and we will see you come January with all our new content.
You bet. Thank you for stopping by today. I know this is why we don't do build videos.
Well, it's a little bit dry, and that's why if you guys do have questions today, we're not obviously going through the email ones, so sorry, it was just one of those headache weeks. Daryl Watts, sorry, I was responding yes to wanting Richard to open up the bottom there, not that there's a direct drive for the CR6. I haven't torn down or even looked at the CR6. We didn't get one for review, so I haven't had a chance to even go to a retail store because we don't have very many here to look at them. Let me see if I can find anything for you looking at that hot end. I can give you an opinion, but as of right now, I don't think anyone's making a direct drive mod for it. Nor do I think you really need it for the CR6, to be honest. Because the CR6, yeah, unfortunately, everyone's reviews, they don't... Oh, no, they do pop it off. Oh. Yeah, that's that weird wider heat shroud that Creality put in. And given how tight it is with that ribbon cable with the control board, let me see if I can bring this up for you guys here. Hang on a moment.
Okay, Jerry, can you go to Brian's camera, please? There we go.
So there's the inside. Thank you, all 3DP, for doing this nice teardown. There's the inside of the hot end on the CR6 SE. Now, you can see what they've done is they brought this ribbon cable in here to handle all of your thermistors, your fan cooling, and Richard and I have always voiced how much we hate this design for several reasons. Now, there is some logic on here, which is kind of nice. However, you're putting a lot of power through those ribbon cables, and although it's within spec, we've seen them fail numerous times. I believe the first ones we saw the major failures on was the CRX, but
yes.
It's not designed for that. And I've even got a Wanhao behind me that I had custom build cables because ribbon cables are not designed for motion. Disregarding, all of that, if we look at this design, the actual mount looks like a modified version of what has been on all the Creality systems for a while. But you can see because this connector is so wide and so close to that Bowden cable, there's not a lot of room to put a direct drive extruder. Now, that being said, looking back at the rest of the actual machine, does it really need one? I don't think so. I don't think you're going to benefit much from a direct drive extruder on this machine. However, you might benefit from replacing this odd lever extruder. They just can't keep on trying to reinvent the wheel, but the fact is dual gears is usually the best way to go to get a good grip on it. So even what they're saying here, the bottom line, your printing won't be any better than found on an Ender 3 V2. So it's basically a similar Bowden setup. I just wouldn't lose sleep on modifying it for a direct drive. I don't think you're going to benefit much from a direct drive on it. I think you'd actually benefit a lot more from switching over to a different technique for either your slicing or getting involved with linear advance on your firmware, which is designed to deal with the pressure compensation changes in a Bowden tube setup. Dominic Versetto saying, I don't have an enclosure. Is ASA a good substitute for ABS, or do I need an enclosure for that too? I believe we spoke about this last week. We haven't done really anything with ASA. I'd always say grab a roll and give it a try, but in all honesty, I would stick with PETG unless there's a reason you're avoiding it.
Yeah, me too.
BCK000. If my R2D2 print fails for the third time, what should I take my frustration on? Maybe some Womp Rats?
Yeah. Go out your T16 and bullseye some Womp Rats.
Yeah, that'd be very relaxing. What's happening with your print failing? Just curious. Let us know in the chat there. Maybe we can get you on the right track because I've only had a few spaghetti prints, and that's on machines I'm developing, not so much on my go-to machines, unless I was really lazy and said, I wonder if I can get away without that support.
And how many times have we said that, Brian?
Yeah, right. I mean, that's why that cluttered mess behind me there, why it's still going, because as much as it looked terrible on the supports, it's you know what? It's the model itself is looking great, so I can't complain. I don't have any of my other models up here, but oh yeah, I do actually. Like this one just came off my my CR-10 the other day when I was testing a new modified slicer, and it's got some issues in there. But this was in PETG with no cooling. I'm still working on getting all these supports off, because if those of you know that tree supports, you know, they're on there good. You know, you really have to rip at it, and it gets everywhere. It's very brittle stuff. So, but this thing I could probably hawk at somebody and leave a welt. Michael Van Ostend, hopefully I said that correctly. Do you recommend adding an Octopi to an Ender 3 Pro? Is there any issues, things to be aware of for a new user like myself? You don't need Octopi.
No,
I mean, it's cool for monitoring, but I find a lot of people's print issues are a result of over the USB connection. Basically, it turns your printer into a serial interface device, and especially the like the Ender 3s where they have a mini USB port, any kind of wiggle on that cable kills the print and you lose the whole thing. So I always say print from the SD when possible. If you do want to use remote management, I highly doubt you have an ejection mechanism for your prints. So I would trust the safety systems on the printer over the safety checks in Octoprint. Though admittedly, it does have some cool features. I just haven't played with all of them yet. Okay, yeah, so you printed Fab 365's print in place R2D2, the legs moved with 30 minutes left in the print, then read the directions. They say use a raft so the legs don't move. Yeah, it's, that happens. I admittedly have moved away from rafts myself, but if Goose says to do something like that, then do it.
The one thing you can guarantee when it comes to Fab 365 stuff is that he always tests his stuff. Always. So you're always going to get an honest answer from him and on whatever stuff that he's got.
And actually, they've recently, if you check most of the groups out there for 3D printing model marketplaces and stuff, they all have a rule now that you have to prove that your model is printable, because there's a lot of amazing CGI modelers out there that have no clue how to model for a 3D workspace. You know, it's always designed to be optimized. It looks great, but it's not printable, and that's something we've kind of touched on a little bit in the past. Is just make sure you found someone who's actually printed the model before you print it, because it may not be printable. It may not be your settings. So don't guilt trip yourself.
Yeah, that's for sure.
William Patton, I've never had any issues with USB serial connection from Octoprint. That's great. I'm glad to hear that. I've seen more. Every time someone calls me with an issue with Octoprint, it has always been serial connection lost and the print gets lost. So even for the smaller machines, I'm okay with it. I just don't like doing multi-day stuff on Octoprint unless I know that I have a good solid USB connector. And I think all these boards I have here have all the same issue. It's that little mini USB one. It breaks
all the time.
So the one you want to get, I don't know if I have any of the cables around here, but well, I guess it's right on the front of the Rock 3 there, is the square-looking USB port. That is the best quality one. And then go to Micro Center, go to Memory Express, go to whatever your best computer company is in the country and get yourself a good quality USB cable. Don't use the one it comes with, because those, even though they look solid, they're not great cables.
That's very true.
So chances are, if you want to dig through your basement, you probably have a USB, a large one from an old printer, for instance. Actually, Ian Jones, that is a great question. How important is it to get the x-axis level with the blocks? As I thought that tramming the bed would counter a non-level x-axis. Yes and no, because if you go and block it, your frame based off the bed, all that guarantees is that your bed is framed with the axis. But if the axis is not framed with the rest of your frame, you might get jitters on your way up, because you want it to be as square as possible so that it glides up your Z rod. And that's the big thing. So a lot of times in the past we've talked about loosening up the screws on those Z rod clamps, And the reason for that is to kind of work around the squaring issues we had with those machines. Sorry, I've been talking forever here, Richard. I'll let.
No, that's good. I'm busy putting in the last 3 screws. I'm busy putting in the last 3 screws.
So you may have seen earlier, and this is something that I'm seeing a lot with these printers, is that they Creality actually ships with all this pre-mounted, but Mingda doesn't ship the hot end mounted to the X gantry. But I think we can probably spin it around when you're done putting those screws in and show it's just 3 screws to put in.
Yeah, it's just
which is
3
really
little
nice
screws.
because then you can, if you ever have an issue and you need to send it off, it's really easy to swap it out.
Yeah. Now everything's nice and tight there. We already did the wheels on the edges or on the Z axis, so we know that those are done. Now, before I even plug this thing in, what I'm going to do is make sure that my Z axis is square to the frame, okay? So we've got this shot here that we're using right now, and I'm going to show you what I do. Is I just bring up the Z axis. Now, it might be a little hard because this is where, you guys can't see that.
Let's pull it towards you.
Let me see there. There we go.
Now,
So-
one thing we watched there is Richard was going and moving them up at the same pace with both his hands. That is very important.
Yes, very important. Don't try and put them up at different heights because you will run into problems. So now what I'm going to do is, because we've got a bit of an issue here, is because of these brackets that are here that we put in, I can't get my 1, 2, 3 blocks in there to sit flat. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this all the way to the top. And if Jerry, you want to go to my wide shot, please.
And something fun to notice, because there's always this question that raises, you might actually be seeing, as Richard
No.
is raising that gantry,
Not that one.
you might be seeing an LED flicker underneath there. And what that is when you spin motors, it actually generates power and pushes it back onto the control main board. So all those videos of showing about whether or not you can or can't smoke your
That the
printer
one
by
you want?
moving the
Yeah.
bed back and forth when it's off, just don't do it. Just be careful. None of these have the proper EMF channels to drain power when it's going the wrong way.
Now, could I do this with the motors, letting the motors do this? Absolutely, I could. I prefer to do this by hand, by feel, because for me, I don't know if it's the same way for you, Brian, but for me, I can feel things a lot better, and I can feel if it's hitting the right position without grinding the motors.
Well, that's the thing, too, is when you bear in mind, a lot of the times when the motors are preset to a current higher than what's required to lift the gantry. And when you tell the gantry to move up, it will go and force its way through little burrs. But if you're doing it by hand, you're going to feel little resistance changes. And this helps you determine, number one, if your printer can go up to its full build volume without getting stuck midway, and as well too if you need to lubricate your rods, because a lot of these don't come pre-lubricated, and you're basically just dry hitting metal on metal.
Exactly. Now, the Mingda does come pre-lubricated, so I'm almost there.
EDC4MA, while Richard's making his way to the top there, when you're adjusting baby steps, when you go up, are you raising the bed up towards the nozzle, or are you moving the nozzle away from the bed? That's a fascinating and excellent question. And the simple answer is it depends. And it really depends on how your printer is programmed and where Z0 is in relative space. So on a printer like the Rock 3 we're doing today, when you are adjusting your baby steps, let's say you're raising the baby steps, you are micro raising the nozzle, the hot end. But if you have a printer like an Ender 5 or any cube printer where the bed moves up and down, raising the baby steps will drop the bed because you are raising the nozzle in relative space relative to the bed. So the bed's base is always Z0. And if you think of it that way, and the easiest thing that I like to do for some people is I put a camera on the bed And then as you see it moving up and down, you're going to see all the time the nozzle is moving up away from the bed, even though the Zed is moving. And that's how you have to think in 3D space, is your bed is 0, and everything past that going up is up. Hopefully that answers your question. It's a bit of a mind twister.
Now, this is why I hate these magnetic sheets. Because they are a pain in the butt to line up correctly.
How is the how is the magnetic tension of that? Like,
it's actually quite good.
Yeah.
But like the problem that I've discussed many times in the past with printers like the Ender 3, is the magnets in certain parts will oppose each other. So you're never going to get this magnetic bed on completely straight. But we're going to use it today. So everything now is plugged in, including our sensor. The plug is right down here in the bottom corner. We're going to take this and get rid of that now. Now, all of our tools, first thing I do is I just put everything back to where it was. I just put it all away because I know if I don't, I'm going to lose it. And this is a great tip. Get yourself a little toolbox that's just for your printer. Now, we have one. It's not in the room at the moment, but we have a little black one from Walmart that was $10.
Yeah, it's right there.
Oh, yeah, it's right there in the corner.
And if you want something a little fancier, if you go to your local Home Depot right now for Boxing Week, every tool brand has tool bins on sale for dirt cheap, and they're kind of deep. So you can go with your traditional toolbox like the Stanley one Richard has.
Yep.
Or me, I picked up DeWalt ones, Milwaukee ones, and they're all super cheap because they're basically just branded promo products.
So the last thing that I have to put on that I have not put on yet is the spool holder. And this is the spool holder. Here's the difference in other spool holders. This is metal. This is metal. Whereas a lot of times this portion is going to be plastic. And it uses a nut or a bolt actually to hold it onto the actual stem for your spool. Now, what didn't they give us? They didn't give us any filament. We got no filament with this one. So
no loss there.
No loss there. Yeah, no loss there. But they did give us a spare nozzle. So we want to make sure that, you guys are seeing that spare nozzle. They do give us tools, which I didn't use because these, I'm not a big fan of these ones that come with it. They did give us a wrench. So that's, these are all things that you want to put into your toolbox. Again, a pair of tweezers, which are going to be important. If you have a good screwdriver, make sure that you put that in there. You want to make sure that you've got a pair of needle nose pliers, a pair of regular pliers. I like to have a couple of wrenches around, a couple of nozzle wrenches around, just to make sure that, no matter what machine I'm working on, I have them available to me. I also have a pair of side cutters that I usually keep in my toolbox as well. Our heat gun, which we're going to show you how to use that. And that is pretty much it when it comes to things in the kit. In my kit, my day-to-day kit, if I'm going out to do service work for somebody, I have that stuff with me. Now, because Mingda gave us this little fancy case, all of this stuff can just go right inside this little case. So if you don't have a toolbox, you just put all that stuff right in there, zip it up, and you are good to go.
I'm almost wondering if that toolbox will fit inside the bottom of the case. Because I tend to go and place all my tools everywhere, and I can never remember where I put them by the end of the project. But
I sometimes have that problem too.
Looking at the front of this, did they not include a silicone sock for that block?
No, they did not. There is no silicone sock. And the reason that they don't do that is because of the way that it cools. You'll see that we've got the cooling vent right here, and the angle that it blows on, it keeps the material, or PLA in this case, it'll keep the PLA from becoming too sticky to the nozzle, and it cools it adequately. So their design is not unique by any stretch of the imagination, but it's very effective. That's what I like about this their machines, especially. So you can see here on the front, I don't know how well, let me see if I can put this camera up a little bit.
No.
There we go.
Up a little more. There we go.
There we go. So you can see here, this is how you're going to adjust your Zed end stop. They actually have an adjustment in here, which is very, very cool. So what do we have to do now next to get this thing up and running? Well, first and foremost, we got to plug it in. So let me grab
Did we square up the top with the XY with the 1, 2, 3s?
We couldn't because of these brackets. You missed that.
Yeah. No, I was saying we could do it at the top, right?
We could do it at the top, but I've taken it all the way to the top, so now I know it's square with this frame.
Oh yeah, I see that now.
I've locked it into the top, so I know it's square. So if you don't have something like this, like the 1, 2, 3 blocks, honey, can you go back to the wide shot, please? If you don't have the 1, 2, 3 blocks, you can always do this and bring it up to the very top of the frame till it stops. When it stops on both sides, you're there. You're square. If you need to check it, you can always check that. Let's go ahead and put this little guy together real quickly, and then we'll get this plugged in. We'll see how it fires up, and I've got the wrong tool in my hand. Of course I do. Which is not unusual for me. The one thing I wish they would do differently on these machines is stop putting in so many different size screw heads.
Yeah, it'd be nice if everyone was like M4, right?
yeah, or, you know, and what really gets to me is the amount of stuff that they've got going on for that. So, all right, so I'm going to just grab this, put that through there. Now this roller does not turn, so just be aware of that this is not going to turn on the spool holder. Once you lock it in, it is locked in. And then just give it a little tighten. Don't get Hercules on this stuff. I find far too many people just crank on these, and then they end up stripping out the soft metal of the screw, or the soft metal sometimes of the extrusion.
And actually, we've saw it lately with printers too, especially with dual gear extruders, where people are doing things like over tightening the springs, and where you think you'd have a death grip would be better, it actually causes more issues with the print than it does having it just kind of like a light tap on it.
Yep, you bet. So now I'm just going to place this and get these screws down.
Let's take a look at this sucker. Ben Brady was saying, any chance y'all are going to review the Phaetus Dragonfly BMS hot end? It looks neat. Pretty much the answer is going to be no, because we'd have to modify a bunch of our machines to make go. I think it looks almost like it will work with a Creality, but in that price range, I would just be looking at a Dragon hot end from Triangle Lab or similar. Temperature resistance up to 500 degrees. Until we see mainstream stuff going above 300, I wouldn't lose sleep on throwing it in. But it does look cool. I think we're not really reviewing much for hot ends right now.
No, we're not. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to take you guys closer, or not closer, but I'm going to bring this camera down so you guys can see the front of the machine.
Happy holidays to you as well, and thank you for your compliment about us being very good teachers. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
We started out where everyone else started out and just went and spent lots of time learning, and we want to share those learnings with you guys.
Now, one of the nice things that these guys do that some others don't is they have a fuse on the power inlet where the switch is, which is really nice. So if the fuse is going to go first before damaging your products inside. So let's see if we get some magic smoke, shall we?
Yes.
All the fans are running. And it's
Dan
asking,
Adams, that's a great point. I would love for a printer company to make both ends of the cables connectors. I'd love to see a company actually put like press out holes on the back of the machine and have them run around. I think was it Creality? They did it recently with, I think it's the print mill uses an HDMI cable, something like that.
Yeah.
I would definitely like to see things, and as much as people harped on Creality for that, the conduit inside though HDMI is perfectly fine for everything except for the high-powered components like the hot end cartridge and the bed. Everything else you can run on 24, 26 gauge without issue. So
Exactly, yeah.
That's a great comment. I would love to see a company do that and make the printer basically fully modular.
Okay, so now that we've got it to this state, nothing has moved, everything is right where it should be. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get into the menu here, and I am going to home the machine. And if we've done everything right, now that little noise that you heard, was it going up? Don't be overly concerned about that.
Well, no, you took it too high. So for those of you who don't know, when you power on a printer, it doesn't know where the Z is. And so Creality Marlin firmware by default always says to lift the nozzle 10 millimeters after power up if it thinks that it could be against the bed, just to make sure it doesn't drag against it.
Correct.
Okay, you guys corrected me. Thank you. Big Tree, the B1 and the BX uses HDMI. That's great.
There you go.
That's great.
So, based on that sound that we heard at the beginning, I know that this X gantry is square to the Z and the Y gantry now.
Now,
Okay.
maybe, Richard, while this is moving down, can we quickly rotate it and show people that the Z rods are not wiggling? Because that's one thing I've noticed is sometimes the printers come with the couplers not cleanly mounted, and that causes a lot of print issues. But as you can see, looking at these moving right now, they are very stable. They are perfectly synchronized. You can see them both spinning around at the same rate. So we know our connections are good, we know our power distribution is good, and we know it's moving down at the same rate on both sides.
And we can see it coming down now. It should be finished. It does move quite slowly, just so you're aware.
But the nice thing is too, we didn't cover the other cable. Both cables are properly insulated cables.
Yes.
They're not going to tangle up. They're not going to take a bunch of room, and they're routed in such a way they'll never get binded up by the bed moving or by any of the other features.
Correct.
So you can see that pin is going right down to that little red push button, and that's our end stop.
Yep.
Oh wow, that was silent.
That is completely silent. I'm right
awesome.
next to it. All I'm really hearing is the fans. That's it. And that's the fan from the power supply. So that's your biggest issue is going to be fans. I mean, as far as silent goes, this thing is completely quiet.
Now, if you do choose to switch it out with a Meanwell, they do have a more silent fan. Or if you're
Yes.
electronic savvy like myself, you can actually go and buy I believe it is 12 volt for these supplies. Even though it's a 24 volt supply, you can buy a 12 volt fan, a ball bearing one that's completely silent to replace the internal power supply one, and then you'll have no sound except for your hot end fan.
Now I'm just going to turn this back around. So it's a very responsive touchscreen, very responsive. So if we go into settings, we can see that we have our filament runout sensor, which is turned on already. We've plugged it in. Now, the nice thing that they did with this is they've routed all of the cabling through these channels on the inside. Jerry, can you go to my wide shot, please? There we go. So they've routed all the cabling through here, okay? So none of that cabling is outside the machine. So it's very neat, very tidy, a nice footprint for a machine of this size. I can see we've got a lot of space between the nozzle and the bed. So now the next thing that we need to do is we need to level the bed. And let me just have a look-see here. We got to go back one more.
Oh, so it has a Z end stop, but it also has an ABL.
No, it does not have an ABL.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said bed leveling was automatic.
Nope. I have to
So
remember
when-
where everything is on this.
So now, when you homed it there,
Yep.
how was the nozzle at the home position? Was it in a good position?
It's just a little bit off the bed.
So that's good, and you want to check this before you start doing things,
Yes.
because there was a great thing I just said, just saw on Facebook, a great meme that involved. It was a Star Wars joke about I heard a sound as if a million nozzles were scraping across their beds.
Now they go ahead and they tighten this bed down. So unlike most companies that will say to you, okay, go ahead and take your wheels all the way down so that till it stops. They've already done that for you. So you've got a nice space between the nozzle and the bed. So when you go to heat this up, you're not going to run into the issue of it being too close to the bed and damaging this surface. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. Now, because they didn't give us any filament with this, which that's okay, it doesn't bother me anyway, I'm going to go into the nozzle here and I'm going to change this by 10 and I'm going to bring it up to 210, and then I'm going to change the nozzle to the bed and I'm going to change the bed to 60. So now this is all heating up. And that's where this is going to come in handy. This little guy is going to allow me to get a reading on the bed and on the head. And that's why I really like having one of these, to see how accurately it is heating up the bed and where it's not heating correctly. Now, for me, and Brian, you probably do this as well, I'm going to take this off because I'm not a huge fan of it. So I'm going to eventually take this off. Oh, we lost the camera. And now it's back.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Hey, Joe Leroy, thank you for the
We're good.
$5. I don't know if we have the super chat
Yeah,
button going.
super chat. We just got to hit the super chat button.
Super chat.
There we
There
go.
we go.
So now that this is all heating up, and I can actually feel this bed heating, it's actually heating quite well. Just to give you an idea, let's get a proper scan here. I got to reset my machine. Somebody's been mucking with my machine.
Oh.
There we go. So this is already at 45 degrees. And what does it say on the front? 45 degrees. Look at that.
Wow, that's actually... Well, I guess it's because we're not using a glass bed. Just as an
That's
FYI, guys,
Yeah.
the thermal things do not work very well with glass.
No,
but
they
for
don't.
beds like this, it's fairly accurate. It might be plus or minus a few degrees, but it's there.
Now, the rock, like I said, it's a little bit different than previous generations of this machine, like the D3, for instance. The rock has this Bondtech-like extruder. So with this extruder, you can run flexible material through it, like TPU, TPE, Ninja Flex, anything like that. You can run it through this extruder with little to no issues. And I'm going to say it's probably going to be no issues. Now, the reason I heat everything up to PLA temps right now when I'm going to go ahead and level the bed is because you want to make sure that everything's been fully expanded before you go and start leveling your bed. Because if you start leveling the bed, first of all, on a cold bed, a cold hot end, you're going to find that when it does expand after it's heated up, you're going to dig into the surface material, and we don't want that. Secondly, you're going to make sure that when this is heated up and expanded to its right temperature. Now, if you're going to go to other materials that are higher temps, re-level your bed for that higher temp, because the higher temp is going to make that metal expand a little bit more. You see where I'm getting at? So when you go from, say, PLA to PETG, you're going to want to re-level the bed so you get that spacing just right. When you go back to PLA, you're going to re-level the bed again so that you get that spacing just right. It's very important, and this is why people have a lot of problems, because they don't do that. They just pull off the roll, they put on the new roll, they change the temperatures in their slicer. By the time they've done that, they haven't accommodated for the hot end or the bed difference in expansion. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense.
Sure does.
You still with us?
Oh yeah.
All right, so this is almost the temp now. I believe it's almost the temp. The bed is there. And the hot end is there. Okay. So if Brian, if you can just talk to our fine folks for a moment, I'm going to go grab a piece of paper.
Absolutely. Hey, Cam D from Red Deer.
I'm just going to grab a piece of paper.
You know, if you come down, one of our service commissions is going to be bring us a box of Donut Mill donuts, right? Oh, welcome
There's
to Canada, where we
Post-it
know
notes
we're
on my desk there.
a few hours in town.
Piece of printer paper is just fine.
No, this machine. I mean, given that this is my first time looking at Rock 3, I have to say, it does look like a pretty solid little machine there. You know, we'll see how it goes down with that first layer, but it seems like Mingda really kind of jumped in with the enhancements that Creality brought to the market back when they started selling machines. We do a lot of different little machines there, and this year we talked about it a lot. We've seen far too many Ender 3 clones that are just, you know, Ender 3 with a couple accessories. This was something a little bit different, where it was actually the build volume of the CR-10S. And you know what, that said, I got a CR-10S right behind me here. It's a fine machine, but the Mingda version looks so much more polished and is more balanced, shall we say. So we'll see after this bed leveling how this how the layer adhesion works. We'll see if the flex plate works quite well. I don't know, Richard, if we had a print queued up for this machine or not.
Nope.
So we're just going to jump into the slicer and give it a go. Now, I have a feeling I don't believe we have a Creality profile for it, or sorry, a Mingda profile for it in Cura 4.8.
No, we don't. But Mingda, just so you're aware, Mingda has their own version of Cura on the card. So, pardon me, on the card. So on there you'll find a version of Cura with the Mingda profile in it, and it works quite well. I would update it myself. Just take the parameters, and the parameters aren't any real difference from this version to the newer version. So just go ahead, or the parameters on this aren't much different than a CR-10S. What I would check is the start and end G codes, and maybe pull them over if you build your own profile, because this profile does work really, really well. All right, so now that we're fully heated, we're going to go back. We're going to go into our menu, and we're going to home one more time.
So I just had this horrible epiphany. I was trying to find a launcher on my PC, and I never realized that Cura creates a folder in program files for every version, even after you've uninstalled all of them. So
yes, they do.
So I'm just looking at my Windows thing. These are all Cura installers, because what I was going to talk with you guys about was this new Arachne engine coming out in Cura that they are beta testing right now. That it's like this. It's a beta version of Cura, but it has a different optimized slicer. So you'll notice I've got a little orange bar around the launcher here. It looks the same, but supposedly it slices far faster, and it does some different optimizations where the line width apparently changes. Like they're getting rid of print thin layers, and it dynamically changes the extrusion ratios. So where is it here? As you can see, it still uses the Cura profiles, the same ones that you had before. It still looks the same. But if I go and grab an STL, let's take... where is it? Let's take my creepy head here that I'm printing. and you can see it's already automatically slicing, and it's actually moving really quick. Given that I think, do I have tree supports on this one? I cannot recall. No, just regular supports, but it's slicing quite quickly, and so we'll see. We'll see if any of the extrusions actually look any different, but it does slice way quicker. I highly recommend heading over to the GitHub and trying out the beta, but or rather, it's an alpha. It's very early on. You can tell in the About section here, Arachne Engine Alpha. Otherwise, it's Cura 4.8. But it sliced up real quick. Let's take a look at the preview here and see if there's anything different we can see on it. I don't think there's much merit in doing a video on it yet because everything that's changing is in the background. But if we take a look here, you know, everything else, it looks pretty clean. But, you know, the way it does these top layers is definitely, it almost looks, oh, look at that. It actually goes back and forth on the top layers, even layer to layer. That's really cool, actually. So it does seem to do things a lot cleaner for the slicing. It seems to handle corners a lot better. But this is a reinvention of the Cura engine, so you're going to see a lot more changes when this comes out of beta, or when it comes out of alpha eventually, and they're encouraging people to download it to provide feedback before it goes stable. And this is something that Ultimaker has been awesome for lately with Cura, is they want to hear back from you. They want to see what changes you want made, what bugs you're encountering, so that it's fixed in the next stable version. But that was a really quick slice for something that is a rather large object and has all sorts of various geometry pieces. It's actually quite clean, I gotta say. So yeah, I'll keep you guys in touch on what the changes are coming up with these new engines. Otherwise, 4.8 Cura has been a great engine for me.
Absolutely, it's been good for me too. All right, so we're ready to level our bed. Now there's no bed leveling setups in this, as well as you guys know that. So honey, let's go to my camera 5, please, so we get a close-up. And you'll see I've got a piece of printer paper, just normal paper. I just cut it in half. Normally I will use a Post-it note, but one wasn't available close enough to me. So now I'm just going to start lifting this corner. And I can feel it getting really easy to turn that. So I'm going to start turning this back corner as well. You can probably see me doing that. I'm turning this back corner now a little bit. And we'll just keep going. Oh, too close. Now you see how I'm getting that bunching in there? I'm too close. If I get that bunching, I'm too close. So I'm just going to back it off just a little bit. Now there's no bunching. Now, normally people would go in a square all the way around. I never recommend that you do that. What I will tell you to do is go diagonally. So we are going to bring this over here. We're going to try and get it as close to above that screw as we can, the leveling screw, which is right there, and that's pretty tight. So we're going to pull that back just a bit. And that's perfect right there. You can see. Now I'm going to take it down to this bottom right corner. And we're just going to slide this down here. And we see we've got lots of room. So I'm going to turn both of these at the same time. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want both sides to come up evenly, both corners, as evenly as possible. Now that's way too much. And that's perfect right there. So this one, I know that I brought it up too much, so I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. And I'm going to bring my paper over here. And I'm going to bring it back, trying to get it as close to that setup as I can. I think I'm going the wrong way.
Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey.
There we go. Now I've got too much there. Now I'm just right. I can feel that. It's moving. I can feel the nozzle on the paper. I could probably go just a tad more. There we go. Now, where I'm going to end, and you'll see that I did this in an X pattern. Where I'm going to end is down here at that front corner. And now I can't get that paper underneath there. You see that? So I have to adjust this corner a little bit. Till I get it just right. A little bit too much there. There we go. There we go. Now, I can go around and double check all my corners now. That's a little loose, so we can bring that up just a hair. That's a little tight, so we can bring it down just a hair. That's now just a little bit loose. There we go. So now when I go back down here, just a little bit tight. There we go. You see that? And that's all I got to do. Now I know that this unit is done correctly. And I'm just going to bring up the Z-axis so it's not resting on top of the bed. And that is how easy it is to level the bed. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, what about the center? I don't care about the center because I know if it's got a dip, that's going to show in my first print. Okay? So what do we got to do? We got to put some PLA on here. What PLA are we going to put on? How about a little bit of purple?
Now, for those of you who don't know, the latest version of Marlin has a feature in place called tramming support, which will move it across the four corners for you. When we're doing this technique, we still recommend to leave the motors disabled and move it around yourself.
Yep.
However, if you want to have four corners at the same point every single time, it's a great feature. Wicked Jack, you're late to the game. Richard shaved last week there. You'll definitely be able to watch the growth of his mustache and beard come back because we are live every Sunday at noon starting in January.
Yep.
Noon Mountain Time, so that would have been an hour and 3/4 ago, whatever it is in your local time.
All right, so now we've got it through there. Now we're going to put it into our hot end. And we know that our hot end is still hot. And I'm just going to feed it in by hand. There we go. Try going the right way, dummy. Now I get a little bit of material out there. Too hot.
Hey, Nicholas Craig, great for joining us. What printer did you get for Christmas? I'd love to see it.
Oh, you fixed that one. That's the one, huh? Okay, I can't reach that one.
Now we're going to just get a little print started here, and what we're going to do is we're going to take the one that's on the SD card here. Just going to pick one on the SD card.
Now, I don't think we've talked about it much, but one of the reasons we really don't like these flex beds that come with the printers is because the nature of the material, it's great for PLA and stuff when you first get started with it. However, as you touch it, you're going to get more oil on the surface, and it's going to cause all of your filaments to smear, amongst many other issues of the soft surface. So we've said it pretty much every week. We recommend going to a PEI flex steel sheet or a piece of glass, just something usually better than these stock beds. It's probably going to be the first thing to go.
Okay, well, they don't really have much here, so we'll just do that one. And you can see that it's now moving. And we'll leave that camera on it, and I'll just talk to this camera here. Because we messed up the shots a little bit, but that's okay.
Yeah, that one's like right there.
So you can see, based on what it's doing now, it's already heated up. We've leveled the bed. And let's see what we're going to get for our first little bit of material down there. Well, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that at all.
Maybe Richard, Can we go to your other little camera on the close-up, because I think the nozzle is right
We
within
can't.
the camera.
We lost that.
We lost that camera.
We lost that camera.
No, I mean the one we're looking at on my screen. It's the upper right or upper left. Sorry.
Are you okay? You're talking about the one that's showing it printing right now.
Yeah. I think we can see the
Want me
nozzle
to
on
cut
that
to
camera,
that?
can't we?
Yeah, we can see the
Yeah.
nozzle.
Look at
Yeah,
that.
there we go.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's the one. So, by looking at this square that it's laid down here, what this is going to do, it's going to do a pyramid. I've looked at this SD card already. It's doing a geometric pyramid. One of the torture tests that I've seen in past by guys like, what is his name, out in Australia, Angus from Maker's Muse. He's done a few of these. Now this is sticking really well. I will notice, and you can notice this on yours as well, when you look at that first line go down, I could be a tad too close to the bed because I can see it where the head or the nozzle has kind of pushed it out, so I'm getting a little bit of an arc coming up and down. But that's...
Does this firmware support baby stepping?
No, it does not.
Okay, so...
In
That's
this
just a heads
version of
up.
the firmware, it does not. Not that I'm aware of. I'm going to do a full review on this unit very soon. So,
William
once-
Patton had a good question here. I was going to ask about that too. Is that an RGB LED or is it just
Yes.
multiple stats?
No, it's just an RGB LED, same thing that's on the D2 and the D3.
Is it programmable or does it just cycle through the colors?
It's supposed to be programmable, but nobody's been able to get it to do what it's supposed to do.
I'll have to take a look at that in the future. That's pretty cool.
So, yeah, that little LED, it just gives you some color on the bed, and so you can see things at a quick glance.
Even though it's not the best implementation, this is just a heads up for every OEM. I want a single LED, whether it's 12 volt or whatever. I really would like to see that. And
Yeah, me
Ben,
too.
just so you Ben Brady, you can actually, if you enable the manual bed leveling feature in the firmware, you can still do baby stepping, because all it does is it raises the effective offset within the memory regardless of the bed leveling feature. There's a way to enable it without any kind of ABL, but it would have just been a nice feature to add in.
So, pros about this right now, just from the way that we built, it's got a very good build quality. It's got a decent bed. Everything was nice and tight with the exception of the gantry wheels here, which we did a little bit of an adjustment on. We didn't have to adjust anything else. Everything was pretty self-explanatory. You really didn't need the instructions to put it together. But if you're a newbie, look at the instructions that come on your SD card if they don't have a physical manual. Because if we look at what comes in this little packet, basically what comes in this packet, and this is similar to all Mingda setups, is they've got a README first, hazards, and inside this little pamphlet, they've got a QC checklist. And this is the one thing I really like about Mingda printers. Honey, can you change to the other camera there? This is the one thing I like about the Mingda printers, is they come with this checklist. A lot of printers don't come with this. So, and you can see that it's been stamped by multiple different departments, and it's been confirmed, and really well done. Now, they give you an after sales card with a bunch of QR codes on the back, so you can get service for this if you need to. It comes with a written manual as well. So this is kind of a poster type deal. Yeah, I think that's it. So
Now, we just kind of winged it on the build, right? We didn't even follow any of these.
I didn't follow any of these, but
you can
everything
see
that
they're
we've
very
talked
clear.
about is in this manual. Everything. So definitely a good thing.
Yeah, Michael, you're saying about half the setup time that I had with my Ender 3 Pro. You're absolutely right. This, believe it or not, like, I would consider the Ender 3 Pro and this to be in the same class of assembly requirements, but it really was simplified on this machine. And even though we went through extra steps, I mean, we're at about the 2-hour mark here of the build. We've gone through extra steps of squaring it up. We didn't really need to do much apart from just adjusting the bed knobs, which, if you know anything about shipping and the rough ride they go through, it will never come flat. So you always have to up that bed. Our extra checks proved that it came framed up, and we just did a little bit of snugness for QA on our own part. But it's printing beautifully out of the box. Now, when we actually slice our own file, we'll see what the differences are. But if we jump back over to the camera, the close-up of the bed, Jerry, can we get to that?
Just a close-up of the bed, honey. Can you go to that camera 5? There we go.
The one thing I really like about watching this right now is every file we ever got from Creality or all the other companies.
Hold your paper in front of that if you want them to see it.
They start off with a raft, and this one here is actually their base G-code file doesn't have a raft, and rafts are a great way of hiding bed leveling issues because they extrude so much more on that first layer to compensate for the blips. This is akin to printing something with no raft, no brim. We had no special purges, and it just worked.
And I found this with every Mingda that I've ever put together. This has been the way. Now, talking about software, I know I said Cura earlier. This actually comes with a version of Repetier Host on the card.
Oh, okay.
So it does not come with Cura. It comes with Repetier Host, and it does come with a little pamphlet here on how to set it up and get it working with the Rock 3. So I'm going to let this print. We're going to leave this camera on here. I'm going to give my wife a break, and I'll come back over and we'll talk like we normally do.
Print seems quite slow, though. Yeah. You know, William, the one thing I will always say is it doesn't hurt to go slow, you know. When it comes to this first layer, I'm trying to estimate. I want to say that's about 15 to 20 mils per second. But if you take your time on those first few layers, everything after that is gravy. I mean, my machines, I do have them going as high as 150 mils per second. But when it comes to the first few layers, you're always going to have a clean result, especially if you just print it slow, you know. And when you're doing big prints like I am, where it's a 4 or 5 day print, the first layer taking 48 minutes versus 30 minutes is very, very minimal. So it does mean I'm watching it a lot more closely. It means if I have a failure, I am going to have a longer restart time. But it's going down clean. However we want to pronounce it, that is a great question. What happened to the channel? It's only ask for help. Will you go back to what made you popular? Yes, we just had, truth be told, everything that's been going on this year, and we've kind of covered it on the live shows, really put a wrench in our content production capabilities. And we've been trying to get it back up step by step. We did have full intentions of dropping videos as early as 6 weeks ago, but the vendors we've been working with have been very difficult to get a hold of, and there have been bugs for the contents we wanted to show. Now, that being said, that's what we have coming in, but we also rely heavily on you guys to find out what content you would like to see. And so hopefully, you know, we'll open up the floor to questions here, but at the same time, if there is something you would like us to cover, we are wide open ears right now. We are more than happy to dig into that. I personally have the next week off of work, so I will have a lot more flexibility to produce some content. And Richard, now with all these machines going, and now we've got this all stabilized, he's prepared. We do have a video coming very, very soon on something we highlighted a little bit earlier in the video today, so stay tuned for that. But if you want to learn something about Cura or some extra features, just let us know in the comments right now, and I will personally be adding it right away to my Google list and getting ready to produce content for you guys.
Yeah, we're going to, like we do every year at the beginning of the years, we usually go back to basics and we talk about all of the things that new people don't know. And it's kind of repetition for those of you that have been with us for a while and have watched these videos. So we're gonna talk a little bit about getting started with Cura in the future. We're going to talk a little bit about getting started with other programs as well, including Repetier Host. We're going to get into that. We've got a whole course coming on Repetier Host that you guys are really going to enjoy, especially because this particular printer that we're looking at now uses Repetier Host. So for us, it's probably a good thing that you guys learn that. We're going to talk about Prusa Slicer, and we're going to go through all the beginning slicers or slicers for beginners, and then we'll get into some intermediate stuff. We're also going to get back into talking about different hardware and why or why not to do upgrades. When is it prudent for you to do an upgrade? When shouldn't you do an upgrade? And we talk about this all the time in our live streams because we get a lot of new people, like the people that are here today, that are always asking us, these questions that most of us would think are simple. But to them, because they're new to the hobby, they don't know. And so we do go back and we talk about those beginning stages, usually at the beginning of the year, and then we move on to more advanced topics as we go through the year. And we're still going to be giving you guys, the regular builds. We're not going to be doing builds like we did today. I wanted to do this today because we had the printer available to us. It just actually arrived at my door about a week ago from Mingda. And I really, really wanted to show you guys this. We're going to do a full review on this printer. You guys have seen the build, and we'll refer back to this build as well. I'm going to actually take this video and chop it up a little bit so that we can use it as material later on down the road as well. So, Happy New Year to you guys as well. Joseph Jolly, Happy New Year. Akbar, I hope I said that right. That's a trap.
And thank you, Val, for the feedback there. I will give you a bit of an update here. We did actually have plans to go to China. Now, I hopefully don't need to describe why that became an issue, but we all understand why.
Yeah.
We can't, right now, the current state of where we are located, the lockdown state is that I cannot even see Richard. I cannot see my family. Unless I live alone, I cannot see anybody outside the domicile that I live within. And so it is a very complex relationship right now with trying to work with companies. I have spoken with a few local firms, but the fact is there is not a lot going on in the Alberta area within three or four hours, really, unfortunately. So there's not much we can do local. So the plan is, with regards to resin machines, truth be told, I'm trying to get my hands on an Elegoo Saturn. However, they're selling out the moment they're going in stock on Amazon Canada, so I haven't been able to get a hold of one. I purely have my Elegoo Mars still on its original screen, still going solid. I can do a review on it if you guys want, but now there is the Mars Pro. There's a different version of the Mars. It's a great machine. In fact, I can't say anything bad about any of the resin machines on the market right now. But I do have an Anycubic Photon original coming in. Hopefully in the next week. I bought it used off a person on Facebook, and I have some new resin coming in today that if you guys want to see reviews on resin types, I'm more than happy to go through it. I just feel like it's a bit of a boring topic, but if you guys want to see it, we'll put together something for you.
So I know I've had some private questions about the last layer and when is it coming. Brian and I have talked about it, Jerry and I have talked about it, and I think what we're going to do is, for now, we're going to incorporate those into our regular episodes again. So we will be showing you finishing techniques through that. We have something a little special planned for when we do those episodes, so they'll be titled a little differently. But you still are going to learn how to finish your prints, and we're not going to launch that channel till we really feel that there's a big enough audience for it. Because growing two channels when we still have what really is considered a small channel. We just crossed 23,000, and that was the best Christmas present I could have had from the world. By crossing into that 23,000, now we're moving on to our next milestone, which is 25,000, and then to 30,000. In the new year, we will be launching channel memberships as well. Brian and I were dealing with that a little bit yesterday. And we've got some special things going with our memberships. I think you guys will really like that. It's different than what we were doing on Patreon because all of this content you guys are going to be able to get access to. And if you're at certain levels, you'll get access to it early. We've got a Discord that we've launched, and we've had it now for a few months, and we're just going to start making more use of it to help you guys out. So I can't say enough good things about our community. You guys have come together, you've promoted us, and we can't thank you enough for that. And we want you to keep sharing our videos and keep liking our videos and commenting, because that's how we get seen by more eyes. And I know I'm going on a little tirade here, but it really does help us out. Your super chats help us out immensely when it comes to getting new hardware, hardware that we can't get from a vendor on loan or from as a promo piece. We have to go out and buy it. So those super chats help an awful lot for us to go out and get gear so that we can show it to you guys and give you our honest opinions. And sometimes we buy duds. I'll admit that we bought duds in the past. We have a scanner that I bought that Brian has. That is.
I have it upstairs right now because I was using the servos last night to test out this other 3D scanner.
Yes,
it's terrible. I don't want to say the scanner. No, the scanner's great, but the old one, which was basically the photogrammetry with lasers, it's a cool concept. But they chose like a 720p camera at the time, so the resolution is never good.
Yeah.
Now, just so you guys know, and this is what kind of where I'm getting into is, I'm looking for a 3D scanner that is detailed on small objects. I don't care about the big scanners and all that, but I've got some retro figurines that I would love to scan and just take a look and see if we can enhance it a little bit and make it look a bit more realistic. And that's all I've been looking for. So far, nobody has brought anything to the market in that detail range, and I think we're getting very close, but we're not quite there yet. So whenever I'm doing scanner reviews and playing with things like that, I'm looking on that basis. And I wanted to show you guys my head earlier because that's really where the features of what's coming really shows themselves. But we have to pay for most stuff out of our pocket. I mean, these printers, they come in, yes, they print, they look great, it's kind of fun. But you guys don't want to channel 24/7 of printer reviews. You probably already have a printer if you're joining us. So we're trying to cater the content to what you guys are looking for, what you need, and where we've all learned. Because, things like when we talk about thermal runaways, right? Everyone's talking about printers being on fire this year. Well, I'll tell you, I nearly burned down my house Christmas Eve, and I'll tell you why. It had nothing to do with my 3D printers. It had to do with a rheostat on my snake tank overheating and melting in the bedroom, and it smelled like burned electronics. So I woke up like 3:30 in the morning. I ran downstairs, and all my printers were running fine. I'm like, what the heck? And then I found it localized scent in my bedroom. So it was something completely irrelevant that was smoking and going bad. Printers are still good. Doesn't mean you should rule out printer fires. You should always take your precautions.
Yep.
But it's very unlikely that that's going to be what burns down your house.
Yeah. There is a comment here. Have you guys tried setting up a Connect with Skinect? Yes, we have. I have a Connect here that we used when we had our studio out at Spool 3D. We did some scanning. We actually did a little episode on that. And our guest on that was Ben Eady, who is a very good friend of the channel. And Ben works in the prop making and costume making for movies and television. So Ben Eady's a great guy. If you haven't checked out his channel, go find Ben Eady on YouTube and check out some of his stuff. He 3D printed a whole bunch of chainmail. Go check that out.
It was EVA foam, and it was so popular that he was flown down by Adam Savage and was featured on Adam Savage's Tested. So Ben has under 10,000 subs, and yet he was featured on that. So don't just think that you can only meet these people if you're a YouTube star. Show your talents, and you will be found. Snapshot FPV, talking about using a USB microscope for the detail. You wouldn't believe this, but I actually bought a really expensive USB microscope, and I'll be showing that soon because we're going to be talking a little bit about filament drying, and I want to show you guys what moisturized filament looks like coming out of the nozzle. And I've already taken the photos. I really wish I had brought up the SD card and I'd show you, but it's a full 1080p image. I think it's a 600 times zoom, so you can really see the oscillations in the size of filament coming out of your nozzle when it's moisture saturated versus not.
Yes. What else we got coming up in the new year? Oh, we're going to be introducing you guys to a brand new Canadian company in the new year that we are going to be working with. I wouldn't say we're going to be exclusive to them, but they're a brand new company. They're going to be making, and they already are, in fact, making their own filament right here in Canada. And they're also going to be doing a filament recycling program right here in Canada, which is amazing. So they are going to have some really high quality filaments at a very, very good price. So I really want, when that all comes to fruition, I really want to share that with you. We did get a roll of their ABS yesterday, a matte black ABS. And I'm going to do some testing, and when we finally get all the packaging and everything, we'll do some really good videos for you guys as well. Materials, we are going to keep bringing you guys new materials in the new year, talking about what we like, what we don't like, who we like, who we don't like. Our production is going to get better. It's going to look a lot like what you see here on the show. Now for our live streams, you're going to get that same type of thing when we go and do our recorded episodes. Brian and I both have teleprompters now, so a lot of my oohs, ahs, ums, and hoo-ha is going to be going away.
I took mine off the stand here because, as you guys can see, when I was shooting through here, it wasn't great. I mean, it's fine for many situations, but just so you know, a teleprompter, anytime you introduce this, it adds the equivalent of a neutral density, roughly 4 filters. So if your camera has really bad low light gain, you're going to see a lot of grain, and that's what happened on the live streams. That's why I'm coming through so much sharper today, even through vMix, which is dropping us down to 720p before I go to Richard here. It's much sharper, and this is with this camcorder up there. I also, as I've mentioned before, I finally got a 5D Mark III camera, so we're going to be getting some amazing stills, some amazing B-roll footage. And we're just going to up the production value again, because we do want to produce a good quality program for you too, but we don't want to go and say, here's all the fanciest looking stuff, but we're not going to give you any information, which is unfortunately a common theme we're seeing in the 3D printing community as they migrate from 3D printing productions to basically television programming production.
Yeah, I still want to, and that's always been the mandate of this channel, is to help you first. Ask for Help was created because when we did our live streams, we were getting tons and tons of questions. So we decided to roll it into a program called Ask for Help, and that's really what it is. Today's not really an Ask for Help. Today's more of a, let's build something. It's Christmas. We all, a lot of us got 3D printing stuff for Christmas, or maybe some of us did, and we might be new to the hobby. So by me walking you through how I build a printer and talk about some of the pitfalls that you might run into, these are things that I hope helped you guys today. And if you got value out of today, smash that like button, leave us a comment after the stream's over. Let us know in the chat today if you're new to the chat, because that always makes us really happy, especially when we see the analytics at the end of our live streams, and we see how many of you are brand new and have just subscribed for the first time. That goes a long way to helping out our channel and helping us bring you brand new content.
And when we talk about memberships and stuff, it's just something that YouTube has offered to us. We are never going to make that essential or required to view our content. It's just more so if you feel you want to contribute and send a couple bucks our way and you'll get access to a few emojis or something. It's not going to be a necessary thing, and we've seen guys like Angus have rolled it out, but we're not trying to make it as a Patreon where we lock content behind a wall. All the content we produce is going to be right here. And the other thing you guys can really do to help us, especially right now, is throw a comment in the regular comments section of the live feeds, because YouTube analytics is getting really weird like that. The thumbs up and stuff does help, but the biggest thing is engagement. So anytime you can go and leave us a comment on the chat, and even if you say Happy New Year, apparently that does amazing things for us. And it's always changing. Truth be told, YouTube is its own ecosystem, and it's something we have to learn on top of all the 3D printing stuff. So,
I mean, at one time we were going to Twitch and we were going to Periscope and we were going to YouTube and we were going to
yeah,
Facebook.
we were using Restream and all that,
Yeah.
and you know, you try to keep all the feeds synchronized and all that. Oh, it's terrible because you know, even with the software we have, you're trying to keep a chat feed from Facebook, from YouTube, and everything. And Ian Jones, thank you so much for the 10 quid, buddy.
Super
I really
chat.
appreciate that.
See, every time you use Super Chat, you get that.
Do we want to go back to the old days where I just do it? Super chat.
No, this one sounds better.
Super chat.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
You know, we really appreciate you guys, and we appreciate all of the new members and the members that have been with us since the beginning. And you know, you guys stick around, and it's helped us immensely in the 3 years that, little over now, 3 years that we've been doing this, and the 4+ years that both Brian and I have been 3D printing. We've learned a lot. We hope we've been able to teach you guys a lot. We're still learning. And as we still find new stuff, we're going to pass it on to you. I find right now there's a lot of technical channels out there. We're not a technical channel. We want to educate you. We want to entertain you. And we hope that at the end of the day, you get something out of the content that we're producing. Even if it's about, you know, kitchen gadgets that we 3D printed, we hope that you're getting something, some value out of the content that we're producing for you.
Exactly. And for me, honestly, I guess I can comfortably say this. I was debating actually putting a video for you guys, but I thought it would be kind of cheesy, especially since I would force monetization off for it. But, you know, myself personally, I've had a very, very tough year. And one of the biggest struggles I was having, which was very discouraging for me, was mechanical issues I was having with some of my machines, as I don't have any kind of machining or construction background. So while I tried to solve many things through software, they end up being mechanical issues, and I just don't have a workshop. So when I've tried to use people's drill presses to make parts and everything, the mega printer that I will be hopefully doing a little bit of a feature in a video, but since it's so custom, it really wouldn't be good video content. I've had to go to people for CNC work, and I think I've dropped easily $2,000 just learning from my mistakes, having new parts engineered and all that. Because when you're looking at design space versus real world, it's very different. And I got very discouraged. I won't lie to you. I mean, it's very hard to produce content when you're not feeling good about your own skill set. And that's where it's been roughly the last 6 months, you know, and this extends beyond the 3D printing space. I just want to tell you guys, just from a firsthand thing, it's okay to feel stressed and upset during these times because you're not alone. Everybody is feeling a struggle, and we're all in this together, regardless of your background, your religion, your race, whatever. We're all in this together, and we'll tough through this.
Super chat.
Thank you so much, Robert, for the $3. We appreciate everything you guys do, whether it's monetary or whether it's just you know, common support, looking out for each other, members of the community messaging me out of the blue. I really appreciate that. You know, it really was a tough year emotionally, mentally, even physically for some of us. And you've seen myself, I had to go off my diet at the time because I was doing a diet. So I have gained back a lot of weight, and that does impact emotions and physical capabilities. It's not been easy. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for your constant, whether it's sarcastic or not, your constant pushes for us to keep producing content, because without you guys, we probably would stop, truth be told. We would just go on and do our own thing.
And I will tell you from my own personal view, guys, and I know this is probably not the platform to be admitting this, but there were times this year I thought about packing it all in and just saying it's over, just because 2020 was so hard emotionally and physically. So I'm glad that we've got the audience that we do, and the friends and family. We consider you guys part of our 3D printing family. And if it wasn't for you guys asking questions and sending in your questions, we probably would have packed it in this year. And we know that you guys enjoy the content. We know that you want the content, and we're still willing to give you guys the content as long as you want it. So I don't need to be
Absolutely.
100,000 subscriber channel. I'm happy. If we get to 30,000, I'm happy. If we get to 50,000, I'm happy. Every new subscriber is a new member to our family, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing, and that just makes me feel great.
And we don't talk much about our analytics because not a lot of people care about that, but watching the numbers, we still seeing the subscriber numbers creep up, even as we were only delivering Ask for Help, which alone was quite a struggle for us to jump into. Just to see that shows how much our content is helping you guys, and that's what we want to keep on doing, is helping you. And we don't want to become a channel where we basically do whatever we want and you're just going to have to like it or get bent. That's not what we're here about. So we keep on listening. We read all the comments that come through. Admittedly, it's a little hard to provide feedback when the video was 2.5 years ago, but
Yeah.
we do read all the comments coming in through the YouTube analytics.
At least one of us does.
At least one of us doing it.
Yeah, I don't always get a
Richard.
chance to. I don't always get a chance to, because all the emails come into me except for Brian's email. So I get the info at, I get the questions at, I get the Richard at, I get, and then I've got our parent company, which is Cleveland Media Group, which is a company that my wife and I own that actually produced the show. But Brian, for anybody that doesn't know, is my business partner in the show. So we do a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and we have meetings sometimes daily, like little 10-minute, 15-minute check-in meetings, and just to see how each other's doing. And your support this year has really helped us, and I want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Richard. And likewise, we've slowly become unofficial family, basically, which unfortunately doesn't skirt the COVID rules about seeing family. Yes. But
That's the truth.
as I said, we're all in this together, and that's why we are just trying to make the light of it. Regardless of the YouTube rules, we don't talk much about it, because the fact of the matter is it's not an excuse. It's just one of the many situations going on.
I have no idea how long. Oh, we've been on for 2 hours and 26 minutes. Holy Christmas.
And I read every single one of your comments. Don't you worry, bud. Well, I'm looking at, that is what are we on now? Are we on the 4th or 5th layer of that Mingda?
Yeah, about the 4th or 5th layer, yeah.
It's looking stunning, and I don't know, I can't even hear that blower fan going, just, jumping back to that, because we've been talking here, and this is what we want you guys to get your printers to the point that we can just walk off and do whatever, and then look over and say, oh yeah, still going good, That's the point of a 3D printer. You shouldn't, as much as it is fun to sit there and just watch it, you want to get to the point that you're comfortable leaving your printer to run potentially for days on end. This print behind me here, this Mandalorian, actually, I think it's what is it there? I think it's Bo-Katan's there. That's on day 10. Now, admittedly, we probably could have done something to make it faster, but it's 10 days in. I can even show you the screen, and it's just humming away.
Pab TV, Happy New Year and Merry Christmas to you as well. We are going to get back to Ask for Help in the new year. We're going to take a little break here for about a week because both Brian and I need a little bit of downtime. But we are coming back. Let me just check my calendar here. I'll tell you exactly when we're going to have a brand new episode out. We will have a brand new episode out on the 9th. Oh, no, pardon me. We've changed our schedule. So our brand new episode will be on the 11th. No, on the 12th. Sorry, the 12th. That's our brand new episode, is the 12th. I will get it right. I hope I get it right. No, wait.
No,
I'm in the wrong month.
That's the 9th you're talking about.
Yeah, the 9th.
Now that being said, I'm going to try and get a video together for you guys this week, and that's just a personal commitment of mine to get me back and rolling into this. As I said, it has been a struggle. So I'm going to force myself to get something out for you guys this week. I truthfully have no idea what it's going to be on right now, but I will get you something. And if there's something in particular you'd really like to have covered in the next week or so that I have the hardware for, because you can only imagine I have stuff still in transit from November right now. I won't be able to get any new parts apart from what I have on hand. And luckily, I don't have a certain person harassing me here named Alteracious asking for BLV video. But anything you guys want covered, especially on the software side, because that's where my expertise is, I would love to hear in the chat right now. And I would love to go and see what I can do for you guys. So please let me know in the chat what you'd like to see for your printer in the next week for adjustments, 3D design, whatever you would like. Let me know.
So just to make things clear, we are now moving our schedule to Saturdays and Sundays. So our live streams will now be every Sunday at noon, and we will be dropping brand new episodes every Saturday at 9 a.m. So that's all going to officially start on the 9th of January. This way, we now have the week to do what we have to do, because on the weekends, my wife and I, we usually have stuff to do on the weekends, and Brian has stuff to do on, especially the Saturday. So we've moved that. If there's something that we can do during the week, we might have a hangout. We're going, like I said, we're working with our Discord server now, and we've got it all up and running. We're going to put links to that out very soon, so that you guys can come join us on Discord during the week. And you can still leave us messages on Facebook. You can still send us your questions on questions@thefirstlayer.com. My voice, I'm running out of voice now.
Yeah, this is the problem. I've worked through the Red Bull, and I'm halfway through the bottle of water. So this is not. This is why we like to cut it off at an hour. Is because we just. Yeah.
So at 2.5 hours, I think we had a pretty good stream. I'll take some pictures of this a little bit later on in the day as it progresses. I'll put them up on Facebook and put them on our Instagram, so you guys can go and have a look at them.
Let's pull up the card where they can find us.
Yeah, well, the card is not what the card normally is, but let's.
Okay, let's see what happens. Hey, there we go.
It's got
it's a nozzle
on it.
That's great.
Yeah. So if you've got questions about 3D printing, please let us answer them for you. Questions@thefirstlayer.com. If you send them to any other email, chances are they're going to end up in the trash or in the junk mail folder, and I do apologize if they do. It's just the way we have things set up, because I am inundated daily with emails to Richard at the First Layer. So please send your questions to questions@thefirstlayer.com. You can send pictures, you can send video. We're working on expanding on Ask for Help to be a call-in show at times. So we've got a phone number, a Skype phone number. We'll be releasing that a little bit later on. And that's brings with it a whole new set of logistics. So we do want you guys to send your questions to questions@thefirstlayer.com. Put them on Facebook if you want to. You can private message us, which a lot of you do. And we'll see those questions and try and help you as best we can. Until then, though, until we see you guys next time, where's my camera? Let me go to cut. There we go, cut. Until we see you guys next time, we're gonna call it now at 2.5 hours. We hope that
you can leave it running with the print head.
I could, but then it would get kind of boring.
Yeah, we'll go and maybe we'll see if we can shoot a time lapse of it later or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually go up and have some lunch and put some tea down my throat so I can soothe my throat. We are going to get into more configuration stuff, so you're going to see a lot more back-end firmware stuff, and that'll be on Brian because he's the expert at that. I can do it, but not quite as good as my wife's putting her fingers in the camera. Not quite as good as Brian does it. So I will still
the Marlin codes.
I will still be bringing you all of the slicer profiles that I can, and talking about the different slicers and which one might be best for you as we move forward. But until we see you guys in 2021, please enjoy the rest of the year. Stay safe going into next year. Remember that the first layer is always your foundation to a great print. Till we see you in 2021. Bye.
Bye for now.